meeting I'm going to call to order at this time. Thank you all for joining us here this evening. Commissioner Banks, if you will please lead us in an invocation. Stand, please.
Most gracious Father, we thank you today for all your love and all your kindness that you put upon us. I continuously ask you in all of my prayers that you continuously bless our community and our adjacent communities, bless each commissioner and their family, and help us make the right and fair decisions for everybody. We ask this in your Son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we know, tonight we've got two swearing-ins that we're going to do for our commissioner-elects. But before we do that, this is going to be very difficult, so please be patient with me. We are retiring a commissioner this evening. And I'm going to try really hard to get through this without too much emotion. She's been such an asset to me, next to me, from the moment I walked in. I know that all of the commission feels that way as well. And Judy, if you would, I'm going to ask you to, we can go to the podium. Ronnie, do you want to come up? Can somebody take pictures for you? Because you want to come up too, because for those of you who haven't been in public service, you probably don't realize it, but it's not just the public servant, it's their family. It spills over to everyone. So each and every one of us, our family experiences pretty much all that we go through as well. And with our service, it's a sacrifice away from the family. So Ronnie, we're going to start off and we're just going to thank you for all the years that you've supported Judy, supported the city, and let her be what she could be here for all of us.
Thank you.
And so I also have in the audience today, we have our chairman of the school board, Holly Pickens. Holly, you want to come up also? We also have chairman of our county commission, Bill Pickens. Both Holly and Bill, while they represent the county, they both represent South Putnam, and they know you dearly. And I've asked them if they would just like to share a few words before we present all of this.
Yesterday, Mayor Myers called and asked if Bill and I would speak, and I was thinking and I thought the first two words came to my mind about you, Judy, and they were classy and committed. Judy West is a classy woman in both appearance and in action. She has the most encouraging smile. It's beautiful. Her smile greeted hundreds of students for 180 days a year for 40 years. I can guarantee that Miss West's smile encouraged and brightened the day of all of her students and every student that came in contact with her. Commitment, wow. I'm not sure which of your accomplishments is the most impressive. 40 years of teaching and being a guidance counselor, or maybe 26 years as a Crescent City Commissioner,
Wow.
or maybe it's 14 years of being both a commissioner and a teacher. Again, I just say, wow. Judy West, thank you for everything that you've done for our community and our students. You're an example for all of us. Congratulations on jobs well done.
Beautiful, thank you.
I will add, not going behind my wife to my list of people I need to speak before. So, truly honored to be here, Mayor Myers. Thank you for asking us. Give greetings to the commission, city attorney, and, city manager. When I thought what I was going to say, Holly pretty much sums it up. But both Judy and Ronnie grew up here. And it's hard to say Judy without Ronnie or Ronnie without Judy, because they've been a team for so long. When you're able to stay in the community that you grew up in, that's special. And I've been able to do that. But they're also were able to make a living. Ronnie was a self-employed businessman for years. His parents had the Western Auto Store. I believe Ronnie worked there, but also branched out to his own home appliance store. Judy was an educator. So it is special to be able to work and make a living and raise your family. So they raised their son, Hoss, who is now, they're living here, and Lynn had been an educator for some 30 years, I believe, also. When you are blessed like that, you feel the opportunity you need to give back. And I know that Judy and Ronnie both have done that, probably first with being involved in a church, and participating there and worshiping. Then it branches out to civic organizations. And Judy, I'm not sure which one you're involved in, but I know you were, but Ronnie was heavy in the JCs for years and years and years, very successful. You feel blessed, so you give back. Then, if you have the calling and desire to run for public office, that's a whole nother ballgame. Okay? As I said the other day at a commission meeting, it doesn't matter what level you are in, you know, you're under a microscope, and I think it gets finer and defined when you're in local politics, because you're working and living with the people that you make the decisions, the tough decisions. The easy decisions are easy. The tough ones are ones that are not popular but are the right decisions. So you have done that, Judy, and you have done it well. Also, being an educator, teachers are special people, and that's also a calling there. So in closing, I would like to thank you and Ronnie. And what you are the examples. You're the epitome of what small town America is all about. Thank you for your service, and God bless you.
I spoke to Nancy Harris.
Oh.
And I know that you and Commissioner Harris, Mayor Commissioner Harris, served many years together.
Yeah, right, we did.
And she couldn't be here tonight. She wanted to be here tonight, but she did say, she said the two of you would go to and attend meetings outside of this community to try to find ways to make the community better and to bring ideas back to see what we could do here in Crescent City. She said, more than anything, Commissioner West loved her city, and she loved the people in this city. She was a joy to work with always. She said she did her homework, and she always tried very hard to make a difference in the city. She says as a teacher, she saw it being necessary to bring the children into this forum, and so Commissioner West started bringing the children in to receive their awards so that hopefully one day they too would want to be a public servant and understand the process that we went through. So she just wishes you all the best, so many blessings.
Sweet. We did that, yes.
Yes.
We need to do it some more.
So she was, and so then I want to present this with the commission, if we can all come up and I'll read this to you. I can't get to because I have been emotional about this all day.
I have too. It's hard.
So with this plaque, I'm gonna try to read it without my glasses. Presented to Judith West.
Yes, I see.
We are forever grateful for your 29 years of admirable service to Crescent City and to your community. You can be proud of the work you have done, the commitment and leadership you have demonstrated, and the lives you have touched. You will be greatly missed, and your passion for service will never be matched. In your retirement, you are wished much joy and many blessings. City Commissioner for Crescent City.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
This is from, not the commission, this is from the employees here at
Oh
Crescent
my
City.
goodness, that's sweet.
And they took it upon themselves, and they raised the money, and they wanted the biggest arrangement that we could possibly carry into this room. You have left huge, huge shoes that might not ever be filled.
They will, because this is a great commission, and I thank you very much. I just want to say, behind the flowers, thank you for allowing me to put these many years in. I have loved most every minute, not every minute, as you know, some minutes are tough, but that's okay. It was never give up time. Our community, I've always wanted to live here. I knew when I got to be a senior, I was going to go to Florida State and I would be gone. Well, I didn't. I married this guy here. And we decided and talked several times over the years, do we want to move? This is a beautiful, unusual community. I love the water and the water. And we're surrounded by water and beauty. And we just never wanted to leave that, our families, and you, the people. Regardless of what our little disagreements may be, we are united in this community, and I love you all. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Know that you made a difference.
I hope so.
You made a difference and you left your mark.
Thank you
And
so
you were
much.
loved so much.
Thank you.
Yes, you.
It'll be okay. I'll be all right.
Well, I don't want to outrun it wise, but
We've known each other long enough, it's okay.
Do you want to get a picture with her? Do you want to get a picture with her? Bill, y'all, no, come on, no, please come up. Let's get a picture with her with her plaque.
Is somebody
Or
else?
flowers.
And her flowers. Yeah, where are the
Maybe
flowers?
go-
They can go right here.
Yeah, or,
They're
they
heavy.
had
Oh, yeah, it's gorgeous.
Isn't that beautiful?
Thank you so much, so much. They're beautiful.
Those were the, I mean, that tells you, when the employees do that, that speaks volumes right there.
So beautiful. Thank you, thank you. Hold on.
Once you move closer together, so you're all in there.
she's got a wide name.
1, 2, 3. Okey dokey.
All right, thank you.
You want me to take those? He's taking them home, watch out.
Yes.
They don't fit in the car. They only fit in the car.
Oh, the cards.
Anything else, Sarah?
Yeah, I got some more.
She can't wait to get out of here.
Don't be a stranger, please.
I won't.
Judith, be sure you come back and see us. You're still a citizen.
Oh boy, she's gonna have fun out there, isn't she? She'll have a good time out there. So with that, I think at this next one, we're going to, announcements. I guess I'll do the announcements and then we'll do the swearing in. So we have an arts and farmers market. This is gonna be our last one for this season. It's gonna be November 26th from 9 to 2 over on the lot, on the corner. We've got our light up Crescent City. Huh?
It was 9 to 3.
9 to 3 this time? Okay. Okay, the market is 9 to 3 this time. We've got our light up Crescent City, which is gonna be the first event that we've had with this, and thank you, Charles. In the evenings, he's been hanging lights in all the trees in Eva Lion, and it just comes to life when he tests them and turns them on. So that's going to be December 2nd. That's a Friday evening, starting at 5 p.m. That is put on with the city and CCVC, correct?
That's correct.
As partnered together. Then we've got our concerned citizens. They're going to have their holiday gala, and that is going to be December 17th in the evening. I think, Veronica,
Yes.
they can reach out to you for
Yes.
tickets.
If they would like tickets.
Okay, I already have my dress. The Lions Club is going to have Gospel in Between, and that's going to be December 2nd, starting at 5:30 to 7. And that's going to be in the Miller lot right here. So that's going to be here. And they're going to have gospel singing and speaking, and I believe that's put on by the Lions Club.
Yes.
The Christmas parade, also put on by the Lions Club, is going to be December 3rd. So everybody get to work on your floats. We want to really show up our surrounding communities with our parade and have a big parade. Believe we're lining up at 11 o'clock and the parade kicks off at noon. So we're going to line up at the bank. Fireworks, the Yacht Club is putting on the fireworks that same day, December 3rd. Starting at 11 o'clock, they're going to have vendors up and down Central from, I believe, Prospect to down to the boat ramp. That'll go from 11 to dusk. And then we also have a resident who is doing Christmas in the Park for children, and she's planned activities, and that's going to be December 17th, and that's at Eva Lion Park, and it's going to be from 9 to 1. So we've got a busy December coming up. November's been busy, of course, and we just keep bringing it on. We just keep bringing it on. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do our swearing in of our new commissioner. So we have Matt Reynolds. He is our clerk of courts, Honorable Matt Reynolds.
Good evening, Mrs. Mayor. Would Charles like to do the election update first? And then
Charles can. We have our
because I think
supervisor of election, Charles.
He's got the additional updates on the referendums. And some
Okay,
of the
you want
other
him to go
information.
first? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Quite as tall as you.
I don't think anybody's as tall as Matt.
Right. Good evening, Mayor and council members, and staff and residents. One of the enjoyable things about being the supervisor is after all the elections, campaigns are finished and all, you get to announce the results and then get to come and present the election certificates to the winners. And in this case, we'll also talk just a moment about your amendments and which ones passed and which ones didn't. But that's one of the enjoyable things about it. You all had 2 council races. Group 1 was Lisa Kane DeVito and Scott King, and Scott's here, and I just want to say thank you to the candidates that were not successful, but they did a good job, and they give the voters in this community an opportunity to have their voices heard and their choices known. And so Scott, thank you for that. Lisa, I'd like to congratulate you on being reelected. And I'll quickly read the election certificate. It states that you were elected on the 8th day of November 2022 as the Crescent City Commissioner, and for a term that begins today, the 14th day of November 2022, and ends on the 9th day of November 2026. And this is signed and dated, and I will present that to you. We also had the second one as Commissioner West was retiring, and that's Group 2. The candidates were C.J. Doc Bailey and William B.J. Laurie. That was a closer race than the first one was, but Mr. Commissioner-elect Bailey was the winner of that race. And again, his certificate will say the same thing, and that is that he was elected on the 8th day of November, and his term will begin today, and will go through November the 9th of 2026. So I will make sure and get those to you before I leave. The other thing that I wanted to do was to go over your amendments. You all had 5, and to give you the results of those. The first one was, shall the charter of the city of Crescent City be changed so that the title administrative supervisor is changed to city manager? And that one was successful, 318 yeses and 180 that were no. Question number 2, shall the charter of the city of Crescent City be changed so that the administrative supervisor / city manager is no longer required to also be the city clerk, and that the administrative supervisor / city manager may hire a clerk to be the custodian of the records and the seal of the municipality? Again, that one was passed 318 to 180. Number 3, shall the charter of the city of Crescent City be changed so that department heads are appointed or removed solely by the administrative supervisor / city manager without the approval of the city commission? That particular amendment was defeated. Yeses were 178, but the noes were 324. Crescent City referendum number 4, shall the charter of the city of Crescent City be changed so that the candidates desiring to run for city office may file their qualification statement and required information with the supervisor of elections any time prior to noon on the first Friday of the first full week of August in the year of qualifying for an election. That particular amendment was passed. 365 were for it and 136 were against it. The number 5 amendment that you all put on the ballot, shall the charter of the city of Crescent City be changed so that expenditures less than $5,000 not required city commission approval and competitive bidding? That particular amendment was defeated. Yeses were 217 and the noes were 263. So that is the unofficial result. I was explaining to the commission that Friday is the day that we will make everything official, because this is a federal election, and we wait the 10 days to see if we have any overseas or military ballots that come in so that we can count all of those. There is a possibility that there are 3 still outstanding, but as you all can see with the results, there wasn't anything that close that might change. So that's why I told Mr. Rudd that you all could make it official tonight since you already have that. So with that, everything is completed for this time, and we wish the new commissioners, the ones re-elected, the very best, and say thank you again to those that also ran but were not successful. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and give that, and then I'll turn it over to our clerk of the court.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming out here this evening and getting those correct.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. I really appreciate the opportunity to come down and perform the oath of office for the commissioners, both Mrs. Kane DeVito, kind of re-swearing in, and then as well a new commissioner. I started at the city of Placa years ago, and it's always good to get back down to the small towns, and I was down here 2 years ago. And that was always fun. So thank y'all for inviting me back down. Thank you, Mr. Rudd, for inviting me back down to perform the oath.
Thank you for doing this for us.
Happy to perform whichever oath. I guess we could go with City Commission Group 1 first, which would be Mrs. Kane DeVito. And do we want to do it on the stage or down here, or what would be
Probably
better?
right by the, yeah.
Up on the stage?
Right here.
Okay.
You can do it right here, just watch the wires, please. I'll get in trouble if I don't say
I can
that.
stand here, yeah, that way if.
Actually, my husband could not be here tonight. He sent me lovely flowers, but I have someone I consider a family member who I would like to come and stand with me.
Yeah, I taken pictures.
And I affirm,
Pictures
I affirm.
Okay.
to, I'll get out of the way, I don't want to get a picture, so.
All right. So this reads Oath of Office, County of Putnam, City of Crescent City. If you will, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Lisa Kane DeVito,
I, Lisa Kane DeVito,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government
the Constitution and government
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Florida
and of the state of Florida
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
domestic or foreign,
domestic or foreign,
and that I will bear true faith,
and that I will bear true faith,
loyalty, and allegiance
loyalty, and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
and that I am entitled
and that I am entitled
to hold office under the Constitution
to hold office under the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of Florida
and the state of Florida
and the charter of the city of Crescent City,
and the charter of the city of Crescent City,
and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully perform
and faithfully perform
all the duties
all the duties
of the office of City Commissioner,
of the office of City Commissioner,
Group 1,
Group 1,
on which I'm about to enter.
on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Get a picture.
Great.
Oh, I remember all that.
Just all about pictures.
I think this is good, I stuck around.
Do we have to stand on tiptoe?
Oh, I know, I'm sorry.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Matt.
Thank
Thank you,
Just
Carol.
put totally something.
Right.
Now, for those of us that are a little challenged in the height, sorry for your height, we can give it a check for that.
All right. Commissioner-elect Bailey, if you'll come up, sir. All right, the oath is exactly the same, other than the name, about the same. So it reads Oath of Office, County of Putnam, City of Crescent City. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, C.J. Doc Bailey,
I, C.J. Doc Bailey,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government
the Constitution and government
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Florida
and of the state of Florida
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
domestic or foreign,
foreign or domestic,
and that I will bear true faith, loyalty, and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
and that I am entitled
and that I am entitled
to hold office
to hold office
under the Constitution
under the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of Florida
and the state of Florida
and the charter of the city of Crescent City,
and the charter of the city of Crescent City.
and that I will well and faithfully perform
I will well and faithfully perform
all the duties
all the duties
of the office of City Commissioner,
of the office of City Commissioner,
Group 2,
Group 2,
on which I'm about to enter.
on which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, sir. There you go, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You have anybody to?
No.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yes, ma'am.
I got your stuff.
already had a hard act to follow. This is gonna be something. Oh. Thank you again for allowing me to come down and perform the oath ceremony. It's a special thing for me to be able to come down and do that for you guys. So again, I appreciate it. I truly appreciate it. And congratulations again to both of the commissioners.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this is, as being an organizational meeting by charter, we're required at this time to also elect a vice mayor.
I make a motion to elect a vice mayor.
Okay. And who would that vice mayor be?
Mr. Banks,
So you have a motion to elect
Harry Banks.
Harry Banks as vice mayor? Okay.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Do we have any discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You're stuck with us.
There you go.
How many years, Commissioner Banks, have you been the vice mayor?
30.
30.
Just a couple.
Well,
It's easier being the vice mayor.
It's an honor.
Benjamin got one on this.
It's an honor. It's an honor.
Yes, it is.
It's an honor. Okay, with that, let's get down to business. So right now, we have the approval of minutes. As you will see, we have, I believe, 7 sets of minutes that we're going through at this time. We can go through them individually, or we can do them as a group. So, if
I'd
you'd
like
like
to move to approve all the minutes, and with corrections where needed.
Second.
Okay, we have a proper motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
I have 2 corrections
Okay.
and additions. One, the minutes of September 8th, page 10, line 7, and I wrote these out for Ms. Hayes. The word descended should be dissented. It's describing there was 1 nay vote, so it should be descended. And then as well, sorry, can't hear what I'm saying. Then also the special meeting, September 22nd, page 6, where it says city attorney. Before the first sentence that starts with Bobby, to explain what this is about. Insert the sentence, at the request of Commissioner Vito, Attorney Pickens reviewed information he gave at the commission meeting on September 8th. That's it.
Okay. Do we have any other comments? And then we have a proper motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, so moved. Okay, at this time, we're going to move to public comments. We're going to ask if you come up and speak. You have 3 minutes. Topics that are not listed on the agenda, and they'll be heard at this time. Comments regarding public hearings will be heard during our public hearing section. Comments regarding business items will be heard during business items. So if we have anybody, please come forward, state your name, state your address. Okay. Wow. No public comments. With that, I'm going to close public comments. We're going to move to the sheriff's report. So Captain Usher, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. And congratulations, I should say. I look forward to working with both of you. I've already worked with Commissioner Vito, but I look forward to working with Mr. Banks.
Appreciate it.
So I'll start off on our report. It's kind of short. I wasn't being facetious when I put there was nothing to report here, but we merely had a couple of drug arrests that are active investigations that I can't expound upon, and so we'll kind of leave that at that. But there was nothing that we reported to FDLE as far as the crimes that you see in the next sections here, where I give my 6-month comparisons. Any questions on that? Second, the next page you'll see there is our traffic crash data. We did have 3 traffic crashes. One was at North Summit Street and Eucalyptus. The second was at Lake Street and Central, and the third was at Summit and Lemon. All of those crashes were minor damage, and there were no injuries reported in those accidents. Anything on the traffic crashes? Any information? Anything on that?
I guess one was a hit and run, the one down at Lake and Central, was that like, it was a hit and run?
Yes, the Lincoln Central was a two-vehicle crash where, basically, one vehicle was traveling east it was east on Central, and he kind of clipped the other car, and he just kept going, so that was on that one. And when I ran our report on our tag readings, I couldn't come up with any information on the suspect vehicle on that, so that's still an active investigation. If you'll see there with the 6-month comparisons, we started working really hard last month. We identified actually really 4 individuals that were making up most of the criminal activity in Crescent City. We weren't able to charge them with certain crimes that they done. Well, we were able to charge some, but we started getting a little creative, and 2 of those individuals have been, they're in a rehab program right now, and the other 2 have been taken into custody on other charges that we have on them, and they are awaiting sentencing for that. And as you see, of course, the 6-month comparison there, the reason why you see the big difference there, the bars in this thing, the graph here is kind of, it's single digits, so that's why it looks like so much of a difference. You had a total of 4 crimes last month that was reported and 0 this month. Any questions with that? And again, those individuals that we took into custody, I think, were responsible for about 100% of those 4 crimes that occurred in last month in October.
We're blessed to live in a city that we're at single digits.
Yes, you are. Any updates on any of the events we had or anything, Mayor, Commission? Everything seemed like it went well. I know we had the trunk or treat. That ran well. I wasn't in attendance on this one, so that was my first one, and I think I explained it to you. It was my first one in 19 years that I've missed. So I have a 3-year-old at home, and I missed all the festivities of my first child's being born, so I figured it was time to stay home on this one.
Family's always first. Family's always first. And it was a great event. We had, I believe Herman, he was taking count, and I know on South Prospect, they had over 500 children, and we probably had even more than that over at the trunk or treat. I mean, I've never, in all the years I've lived here and done trick or treat, we've never had that amount of children.
And I had to miss that one, so.
I know. And then we had a haunted house, and I believe we had our first haunted house. Karen, thank you. And Karen did an awesome job. They even scared me. And she and all of her volunteers, I believe Commissioner Burton, you were part of the haunted house. And you had what?
429.
429 people go through the haunted house. That was the first time, so it was a great event.
That's awesome.
And we just appreciate everything that the sheriff's office, all of your volunteers, they were great. I know we now have Holly. She's our, what would her title be? It's community.
She's basically our community events coordinator. So anything that we would have as far as any of your events, she usually takes those things from me and she runs with them. So she does a phenomenal job with that. And we also have our special events committee, which is a board of 5 people who also help her out with anything she needs. They kind of arrange all the manpower and stuff, and she puts everything together.
Well, they did an outstanding job. They really did. We couldn't have asked for anything.
I think we've had a good turnout with all of the little events we've been having. They've all kind of been a hit, so keep them coming.
They have. Thank you very much for all you do.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Commissioners, do you have any questions of Captain Essery?
I just want to say, Captain, that, you know, to me, y'all really doing a good job. You know, I have never seen so many police cars on Prospect Street in all of my life. So that substation really makes a difference.
It does.
It makes a difference. Everybody is down there.
Right, so what we've seen is while you have the 24-hour coverage in Crescent City, historically, law enforcement officers seem to gravitate toward each other. And when you have that officer who is bound to Crescent City, all the other officers seem to come to Crescent City, so that's where we end up at.
Right.
And the highway patrol.
And
Game and fish, and you know,
Yeah,
what
they
they
do
want.
fish. I've seen them in there in and out. So,
So we covered, real good.
We're well covered.
Better than you think at times.
Yes, Commissioner DeVito?
Have a question for Captain Esri. Don't know if you've heard, but Mr. Lawrence Coleman passed away this past week. And as you know, he has been coming before the commission. He had been coming probably 15 years to express concerns at different times about traffic, particularly on Vernon. So, and this is a question for the whole commission, but as well, if the sheriff's office can do anything to help move this forward. We had talked about slowing traffic on Vernon, and one idea that was brought up was to lower the speed limit on 308 from 35 to 30. Mr. Coleman was about as devoted to traffic calming as anybody I know. If y'all can do anything to try to move that forward, I think it would be a great way to honor Mr. Coleman.
That is, and again, that is a county road, and just so the commission knows that how seriously I took Mr. Coleman. I've been working with the mayor, and I've been trying to get a device that would, when we're not there, we can monitor all that traffic. So what it does is, it collects some data. So everybody's seen the speed trailer. What it does is before you see that number come on and flash, it registers a speed on a vehicle, and then it flashes the display. When that vehicle is registered, that data goes into that machine, and I needed a way to extract the data. So once I got that, I was able to do a very extensive traffic study there. And what I found was the estimated speed there at Main Street, and basically that trailer will get the cars as they come around the corner on Vernon there. And the average speed, I want to say, was around 26 miles per hour was the average speed according to that trailer. So it was about 6,000 cars that it read. I have some more of that data if anybody would like to see it. I wasn't prepared to get into the meat and potatoes of it, but the average speed was around 26 miles an hour in that area, which is very good. But we will continue to work on that. I'm also doing some other speed studies for you guys also. But if you would be interested to see those, I would have those available for you.
Sure. Thank you. I'd like to talk to you about it.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
No other questions for the captain?
Yeah, just one. I noticed the same speed thing there was on Condo Drive for quite a while.
It was.
And do you know what some of the highest speeds were on there?
Unfortunately, I didn't have my data logger then. So my next speed study will be on your street, and I will have that information. It's gonna take me a while because I have to move the trailer around a little bit because I don't want to get one data in one place, because those little side streets can be deceiving of cars getting up to 10 miles an hour and then passing the trailer, and I'm not getting really good data. So I want to move that thing around on that road with that data logger, and it takes a lot of time to download all that stuff.
Well, I noticed it was there, and you said it would be, and it was. I just was curious to see, some of the top.
Yes, unfortunately, like I said, I needed a data logger. I needed a way to extract that information, and that piece of equipment was very, very expensive. And when they sent me the first one, it didn't work, so I had to send it back to California to get another one. So I finally got it, and stand by.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And I could just follow up to that. I did see the speed on there. My bike and I were going 9 miles an hour, and cars coming in the opposite direction more than once were going 34 miles an hour and a 25 mile an hour zone. I was right in front of it when it flashed up. So it would be worth your while, I think.
Thank you. Okay, with that, Captain, thank you, we appreciate it.
Thank you, and again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we're gonna move on to our business items. Charles, do you want to?
Certainly, Mayor. The first item is setting a special meeting date for the second reading of the budget amendment. Our amendments require 2 readings, and we need to have it completed by November 30th, so that requires a special meeting for the second reading.
Okay.
And I'm recommending the 29th because it's a Tuesday night. It looks open at some other city meetings.
Okay, so I'll move to set a special meeting for the second reading of FY 2021-22 on 11/29 at 6 p.m.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any discussion? Commissioner Burton, do you have anything to say? Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, so moved. We're gonna move on to the water rate study results.
Yes, the next item is just an introduction and a discussion of the water rate study results. We commissioned a water rate study that you'll see later in the budget. We knew that the water fund was in trouble. It was in trouble last year, and we did not adjust the rates. Actually, a rate study was done 3 years ago, and the rates were not adjusted at that time, and haven't been adjusted since 2008. So we commissioned a rate study. Those results have come back. It's a lot of data, so I just wanted to get it to you as a purpose of tonight, in deference particularly to our new commissioner, so you can look through that over the next month. We will have the gentleman who performed the study from the Florida Water Association will be with us either in person or on Zoom next month to answer your questions. And I can also arrange probably connect you with him during the month if you have a lot of questions or really want to go over in detail. We'll have an ordinance ready for you for next month. We may want to have more discussion and move to January, but his recommendation is that we increase the rates as soon as possible.
Okay.
May I have one question? Charles, when the consultant is here as well, if the city has any ideas of efficiencies that could possibly be brought to bear, maybe those could be brought forward also in December.
Okay.
If there is anything, thank you.
And I did check, the average bill right now is $68.56. So a 15% increase would be $10.28.
I have one question.
Yes,
If we're gonna do 15, 15, and 10, when they do the 15% increase, the second one, is that 15% of the original fee or the 15% of the accumulated fee?
I have to ask him, but I believe it's the accumulated, the new rate within 50% increase again.
And I believe it's 15, 15, and 5, correct?
Yeah.
15, 15, and 5.
And it's just 5 every year.
15, 15, and 10.
Well, Mayor, one more question.
Uh-huh.
There's really no indication that I see in any of this information as to how we stack up in terms of what our water rates versus similar communities. Is it possible they could provide that?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, I think that would help us.
Okay. So we'll just put that on the next agenda, on the December agenda.
Yes.
So we have to make a vote on that, put it on the next agenda?
We don't have to.
I don't think so, just.
Yeah, we don't have to.
And that was what, December 8th? On December 8th?
It's December
I think
8th.
so, wherever the regular meeting is.
Okay.
Yes, that's the 8th.
I probably, maybe at this time, I will not, and I'm not asking you to move the meeting, I'm asking for an excuse. I will not be available at that meeting because of the hurricane. Steve, my husband, he was supposed to get the Publix Award.
Don't tell me when he's gonna get it next, because I'll start preparing for a hurricane.
Yeah, I know, I'm so afraid of that. Believe me, it was supposed to have been a
It seems
really
like
relaxing weekend last
There's a
weekend.
pattern here.
And he wrote me, he said, it's all okay, they rescheduled it for the 8th. And I'm like, oh, no, that's not okay, but so I will be there, so,
Okay.
Commissioner Banks, you will, you're in charge. Okay, so we want to move on to.
Mayor, the next item is approval of a Class A event. This is our new event rating structure. The Class A event is an event, either we expect 1,000 or more people in attendance, or we serve alcohol. This event is our annual Holiday Fireworks Festival. It is the 4th annual, run by the Yacht Club. And we have the information in your packet. And again, this is a new process for all of us, particularly for the applicants. So we had to figure out what it was we were asking of them to include in the packet. And they got everything to me that I said we needed to bring before you. There's the site layout. It does show every possible vendor space, but there aren't vendors in every one of those numbered spaces. It just shows how they would mark out the street. And there are representatives here to answer any questions you may have. This is a great event, and staff recommends approval.
And that would be waiving the fee as well, correct?
That's another agenda
Oh,
item.
that's what we had to do, I'm sorry, I apologize. Okay,
Do we need a second?
yes,
I'll second.
okay. We have a proper motion and a second. Do we have any questions? Commissioner Burton, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Commissioner DeVito?
I do. It's a great event, it's a great application. It's a new application form, obviously. I noticed on here, and I talked to Charles about this, there's supposed to be information about parking. I don't, and it's 1,000 people, and it's obviously a very well-attended event. There's nothing on here about where general parking is gonna be, just emergency parking. Can we please put in this application that parking will be, public parking will be marked for, I guess, the customarily available places like Market Square and along in front of where there's parking in front of the old middle school property on South Prospect? Because the application doesn't indicate that. I mean, can we update the application, or should I amend the motion to,
We can update it, those are traditional areas people have parked historically, so I think it's,
but I think it helps. The Downtown Partnership has done a good job of marking parking areas, and I think that's been very helpful.
I think that's probably not a problem to mark the public parking.
That's like, what we got. Do you want to, Frank, you want to come?
And then I have one more issue. Is that something the city would do, or do we make the yacht club do it? Because it's city.
Well, traditionally, the applicant would do it. I think we might have signs we could provide if we, I don't know if we got, did we get those signs?
Not yet, but they will.
We're gonna have something that we could be happy to provide them.
You want to,
It's just
you want to
very
introduce,
helpful.
if you would just introduce yourself.
Yes. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Frank Lanza. I'm a resident of Crescent City. I live on 108 Eagles Nest Drive, actually along County Road 308. I am the current Commodore for the Crescent City Yacht Club.
Commissioner DeVito, you said you had another question?
Right. The layout is very good. Well, actually, two more. We have a couple of operating businesses that operate on Saturdays, which is when the fireworks will be. So one of them is Mystic Bistro at Park and Central. The other is Three Bananas. Three Bananas is, and also Nature Symphony, which is next to Mystic Bistro and has the same owner. So my concern is for any event that we're having and there are vendors, it would be helpful if the tents for the vendors, or I think the yacht club tent is supposed to be by Mystic Bistro, if we could make sure that for Mystic Bistro and Nature Symphony, that their signs and their access are very clearly, accessible and not obscured by any tents, because they will be open.
Yes. Historically, we provide trafficking arrangements and to ensure there's no impediment traffic flow through the area, so the businesses are not affected by any manner in a negative way.
Right, well, for example, like the Nature Symphony, the store, that there's a sidewalk there, and I can't really tell from the diagram, and I think not everybody is signed up yet. But, I mean, I would hope that there wouldn't be a tent put right in front of the sidewalk that leads up, and that people could clearly see also that the restaurant's there open. Because the festival's great, but we don't want people to overlook the open business. Right, and I can't tell from the diagram.
Okay, Commissioner Burton?
I just wanted to say that, that's all gonna be closed off, everybody's gonna be walking, correct?
Yes, that's correct. It's
So, I mean-
pedestrian traffic only.
Yeah, when people are walking, it's kind of tough to miss the open stores that are also along the route.
They have a better opportunity to see
Yes.
that the establishments are open to walking as opposed to driving by.
Yeah, I think that's the way I've always kind of done it, so, I just wanted to point that out, that,
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the yacht club always
Yeah,
do
they
a
do
good
a good
job
job.
of parking, and let us know exactly where to park at, and so we stay off people's line. I think they really do a good job.
But I mean, there's two businesses that are there this year that weren't really open last year.
They were there for the 4th of July.
Yeah.
She was open for the 4th of July, instead of 4th of July, and I think that, you worked around that as well.
We did, yes.
Okay.
I would like to ask a question. I see on this diagram, you're asking from Highway 17 all the way down to Lake. But would it be a problem if we started it on the east side of Prospect down? Only because on that lot, and of course being there and watching the traffic coming in and out, they want to be able to come in on Central and turn, and I think last time you blocked that off right there at South Prospect, but that allows the cars to be able to go in there and park and do what they need to, and there's not that confusion. They'll know if the barricades are right there at, between, on Prospect and Central. That's on the east side of Prospect and Central. You don't have any vendors right now in that first block.
Correct.
And I know you've got a lot of empty spots, and of course, the show always looks better if everybody's grouped more together. So I was just hoping that maybe you could leave that open. If we could just leave that first block open for all the people to park, because it does get a little bottlenecked up in there and gets a little crazy. I know at 4th of July, Carol was working hard, several of them were working hard trying to keep the traffic right there. So would that be a problem?
So your ask is that we ensure that the traffic cones are kept on the east side of that intersection?
Of South Prospect.
Okay. We'll make every attempt to do that. Right now, we don't have all the vendors, have not all answered. So what we'll do is we'll start to get the vendors set up east of that intersection before we look to get into the other spots.
I just think that'll help out, because you've got people back and forth on Prospect parking, they're coming into that lot, and there's driveways in that lot, and I'm afraid they'll come out one of those driveways. Just, if you can work with that.
One of the lessons learned that we had from the 4th of July is when some of the vendors were further up the hill, they got less business.
Yeah.
So we want to try to keep most of the vendors further on the east side. So we did learn that was a better plan to keep them further toward the lake.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, any other comments?
Yes.
Commissioner DeVito.
Yes, and this is something that I suggested a long time ago for the Catfish Festival. But this is right in the middle of our CRA district. Is the city or the Community Redevelopment Agency planning to have a tent at this event?
Not currently.
Can you do that?
Well, we could.
Because it seems like we're gonna have 1,000 people. This is our CRA, we have vacant buildings. It just seems to me when we have all these people in town and we're using city property, that there's a great time to have a tent for the city and particularly the CRA. So I would hope that we could do that.
I'll see if we've got someone available.
Okay.
My son's getting married that day, so.
Yeah.
Well, you can't do that,
We
obviously.
can't, so we have to have volunteers that would be willing to, do you want to come help them man that tent? Will you come help man that tent?
I actually have obligations at the church.
Okay.
But
Okay. Christina, you will have to check with the partnership as well, just to see if they have the volunteers for it, so. Good suggestion, thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes, sir.
if whoever wants to set up that tent, they can contact me or someone in the yacht club so we can help make sure that there's a space available, and we'll collaborate with them to make it happen.
okay, thank
Do
you.
you have a meeting before this event this month?
We do not. We had a meeting last weekend. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we have a motion, and we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say. Okay, so moved.
Mayor, the next item is a request to waive the new special event fees for various events. We've had 3 applications come in where the applicants are requesting. If you recall, in the original proposal, we had identified certain events that were kind of city events that if nonprofits were putting them on for us, we would probably likely put them on, like a Veterans Parade or a Christmas Parade, etc. So we took that language out, adoption of the ordinance, so now the events need to come to you for approval of a waiver.
And there were 3 applicants on your list. The Lions Club with their Gospel Fest, that would be a $50 fee. That event is $10 per person for the public. The Lions Club is also doing the Christmas parade. This is free to the public. That would be a $100 fee. And the Yacht Club Christmas fireworks, which you just approved, is also free to the public. Would be a $300 fee as a Class A event. So our recommendation is to approve those events that are free to the public.
Just those that are free to the public. Okay, commissioners, do I have a motion?
I move
To,
that we allow the Lion Club for the Gospel Fest and the Christmas parade and the Christmas fireworks to be free.
To waive the fees.
Yeah, to waive the fees.
I'd second that.
okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Commissioners, do we have any discussion? Commissioner Banks, start with you.
None.
Yeah, I have some concerns. I think that the key words here are free to the public. You know, we do a lot of things that are free. The 2 things that are noted here as being free to the public is the Christmas parade and also the Christmas fireworks. The Gospel Fest, they're charging for people to go. They're charging $10 a ticket. Normally when people charge, we don't necessarily give that area free space from the city to do that. I don't know, you know, the fee's $50, it's really not that much money. So I'm not sure how to read this, I guess, and I think it just should be, I think it should be discussed. You know, I don't think, it doesn't fall into what we say should be free.
And we have to be very careful as we're setting precedent as we go
Yes,
forward with this.
yes.
And so that's why we just have to be careful here. Do we have any other discussion on this? I believe Angel, okay, Angel, if you want to, yes, ma'am.
But just, that's my understanding, I'm not sure how all the different locations were assigned or what has changed this year, but the gospel singers used to be in Eagle Lions Park with the rest of the Christmas celebration. It's a very long time event in Crescent City, so I can understand having that, waiving a fee for that. I understand there's also going to be, if you look at the flyer, there's going to be a giveaway of items for children. I think that was done last year or the year before. There were a lot of significant items given away for children, but this is a long-standing event, and I don't know why there's a charge for it this year, but it's been around forever. So.
Yes, it has.
Can you speak to that? Because obviously this is,
That's the question.
this is a concern that you're charging $10 for that. I mean, what other fundraising have you done for that event?
Yes, hi. Angel Duke, 404 North Lake Street, President of the Crescent City Lions Club. Thank you for allowing me to approach the podium. We have been doing the Christmas Festival, this is our 11th year. We always did something on a Friday evening, either singing gospel, Christmas carols, etc. However, last year, we had a gospel fest. It was phenomenal. And it resonated not only through Crescent City, but people heard about it in Palatka, and the theme was unity. So we decided to bring 5 ministers in, 5 different denominations, different ethnic groups, to come up on the stage and speak about what unity meant to them in our community. And it resonated. We even had a counselor, Mexican counselor, come from Orlando with a group. So that Gospel Fest is something that uplifts the community. It's a great way to kick off a very somewhat spiritual holiday. At the same time, to unite the community. So we've been doing this 11 years now. Normally, from that first proposal I gave to you, Mr. For the permit, those 2 were together, always on the same application, from 12-2 to 12-3 or 12-6 to 12-7. We described what would happen that Friday evening, And we used to have cook-offs and move in the park and do all kinds of things with kids. We don't have that anymore. We've been moved. So we had to settle for the farmer's market park, which is quite expensive now because we now have to pay for lighting to come up there. We are concerned, we have all these gospel bands coming, and I don't know what the lighting is gonna be now that they times change. So there's great concern. So I had, now to pay a $50 fee for something that we didn't ask to be moved to me, it's just not fair. $50, what are you gonna do with $50 when we are losing and we're giving away blessing bags to all the kids who are gonna be coming in, because they need something, toothpaste, and all kinds of things families need. So we're gonna be supplying that too. So we don't mind giving of ourselves. But sometimes I think when we do fees, we have to take a serious look and speak from the heart. What are we giving? I'm not gonna get emotional. What are we taking? We give a lot, and we don't mind giving. But sometimes these little fees, it just kind of feels a wrinkle.
Well, it's part of us having to, unfortunately, it's something that we've established and having to do business. Do you have vendors? Are you gonna have vendors?
3.
Okay, are you charging the vendors?
No.
The vendors are free?
Yeah, they usually give a donation or a percentage. Even though when we used to do it in the park, we never charged because it's Christmas time and people are trying to make money for the kids, so we don't always ask for a donation. Now, $10. Now, that $10 is a raffle. It enters you into the concert, but we're raffling off bicycles. There's a way for these kids now to get a bike, so that's where the $10 come in, pay for the printing that we have done and all other things that we have to pay for, the lighting we have to pay for. So that comes out of our pocket.
May I make a suggestion?
Yes, ma'am.
We put on, I'm part of CCDC, and we put on different events, and what we do is we actually raffle at the time of the event. We don't ask for tickets, we don't sell tickets per se. We raffle, you know, as the event is kind of going on, and that works pretty well. I guess what I'm saying, I understand what you're saying, because it does cost money, everything costs money for everything that we do. But there's different ways to do it rather than sell tickets, is what I'm trying to say. I mean, you can get, I think you can achieve the same thing doing it differently, and maybe, you know, we should sit down and talk about that. That's all I'm gonna say. You know?
And one of the things that we looked at too were those people who wouldn't be able to attend, right? And they were, that's a donation they were making toward purchasing the items for the blessing bags and things of that nature. Guarantee we won't make a profit off this at all. There is no profit to be made. It's just a supplement some of the things that we are giving and doing. When we did it for the first 10 years, it was combined into Edelweiss Park on one permit. So now we have 2 permits, so it's being split now, so you have split fees. One for the parade now and one for the festival. When it was all together in one location, that would eliminate one of those fees. Because it was originally 10 years, all on one application. And that was the first application I submitted on October 6th. And Mr. Wright told me at a meeting that they had new forms now. So that's why you see that split. We just cannot afford that.
Ms. Duke, would you consider waiving that $10? I mean, I'm concerned that because as we go forward, this is all new, and we are setting precedent.
Sure.
We are setting precedent with this. Would you consider waiving that $10 per person fee and do it more as a raffle, that they can buy a $10 raffle ticket when they attend?
Only when they attend, because they were buying the raffle tickets from the churches or whatever, who couldn't be there. So it's not an admittance to the event. That's why it says raffle on the bottom, small letters. Sure, it's the raffle. But for those who cannot attend and who wanted to participate in the raffle, we was telling you have to be present to win.
They have to, or they do not have to be?
They don't have to.
They don't have to be present. So I think rather than the ticket price of $10, it should be the raffle price.
It's a raffle.
The raffle price of $10. Would you be willing to do that?
Sure.
Okay. I attended last year, and I know when you and I talked about it, I had asked about whether or not you reached out to, I know you got First Baptist, you've got the Methodist, Presbyterian Church, and none of those churches were in attendance. So are you going to reach out to them this year?
Yeah, we've been reaching out to them, Mayor,
Okay.
and they just don't come. We have certain churches come, we have a lot of kids, we had many churches. We saw, I guess about 200 or so kids along that route.
We also have South Putnam, which of course I believe is, you know, South Putnam, so.
We had Pastor Banks Church, we had Pastor Vincent Evans Church, we had Church out of Georgetown, they brought on 100 kids. So some churches come, Pastor Flagg's church, but we ask if they'll come. We always invite them, we will never, you know.
I was just concerned with that from last year that they weren't there, and I know the Methodist Church, and I know South Putnam especially, Daniel.
You mean at the Gospel Fest?
Yeah, to come to the field.
Well, you were there, you saw who was there from the Gospel 5 ministers that was there.
I did, I was in attendance.
Yeah, but we invited them. Perhaps they had other schedule.
Okay.
And my make one other point on the combined events, to avoid having to supply lighting, create a stage event for this event coming up in the park, and it's dark, and the city can't afford lighting. So we're going to do the best we can, and hopefully it works out. If not, I will have the gallery available, and it will never accommodate the amount of people whom we are planning to attend. However, I would like for consideration to be given that we go back to where we were, where everything was held Friday evening, the Gospel Fest, you can still do your lighting and all that. Do your lighting, and then the Gospel Fest closes it out. All the Gospel Fest, and then the lighting closes out. But usually Gospel Fest, they come late because people are working, they're coming from a distance, they have to set up, and we don't want to interfere with the lighting ceremony. So my suggestion is that perhaps you would consider doing your lighting ceremony, and right thereafter, we have gospel coming.
Okay.
This so we don't have to worry about
I think all the groups can maybe work together and talk about that.
Yeah, we've always
That's
done
not
that.
up to
For 10
us,
years
so
we've
that
done
would be
that.
something we would have to talk to
Sure.
the various groups, but.
Sure.
Okay, I would be willing to, if you would waive that $10 per person, I would be willing to go forward with this. Commissioner DeVito, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm just not understanding why this year, apparently the application was to have the use of the park, but Charles moved them. So.
No, the application was put in very early for, the city lighting was put in extremely early to make sure that that would happen this year.
I'm sorry, but so the gospel music can't be part of the lighting?
Well, the program's pretty extensive at this point. Okay, we have a pretty extensive program that's going to be happening. I mean, if they want to come in after our program is done, okay, which would be approximately 8 o'clock, maybe that's something we can consider.
Well, I'm just a little confused about this, because when we did the special events ordinance, I thought it said that for applications that wanted the same date, that the ones that traditionally were held would get preference, whatever, that doesn't seem to be happening.
I never heard that.
I think it's in the
Doesn't
special
matter.
events ordinance.
Pardon?
Doesn't matter whether you heard it or not.
Well, I've
Okay.
not heard that.
So
Okay.
I'm just
Well-
concerned.
Right now, let's go ahead, we've got a motion on the table, we have a second. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay.
I don't want a $10 fee on it.
She said she would waive the $10 fee.
Okay, then I will say aye.
Okay, thank you.
I ain't saying
Okay.
nothing.
No, you haven't said nothing. Okay, Commissioner Banks, I apologize.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay,
Well, I really think we shouldn't do that. I think we should, cause the people that she got coming in, you just can't get volunteers to come in from different places now. Times is rough, and $50 is not gonna break the city. I don't think so.
Well, the motion was to waive.
The motion was to
That's why-
waive the fee.
We waived
Yeah,
it.
we wait.
The
You made
motion
the-
is to
you
waive
made
the
the
fee.
motion.
You made the
Yeah,
motion
you made
to
the
waive the
motion to waive the
Oh,
fee.
wait, so we're gonna wait.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, I'm good then.
Okay.
All right, okay. I just want to make sure we on the same page.
We're waiving the fee. We're waiving the fee, and Angel will do it as a raffle and not as an entrance fee.
Yeah, but on the flyer, it says raffle. It's already noted on flyer.
Okay,
Mr. Rupp has it.
okay.
Yeah. Now, also, to the Christmas parade.
Uh-huh. We waive the fee on that also.
That's a community event. I'm gonna say, well, we gotta,
And we had already acknowledged that with the parades such as that, the Veterans Day Parade, we waived the, you know, that we would do that as a community event in the city. It's one of those events, we looked at it like Mr. Rudd explained, if it's something that if a organization's not gonna pick it up, it's something that the city would try to encourage and have anyway. And so we did waive the fee on the parade as well.
okay. And on that note, in closing, I just want a clear understanding that if we're not gonna be competing with each other with events, two people, groups singing at two different locations at the same time, that's gonna wreak havoc this year. Because our event starts at the same time as the lighting ceremony, it always has. So now you're gonna have these gospel bands playing, you're gonna have the Crescent City High School band playing. You're gonna have their group singing over there, our group singing. We've never had that. It's like we're competing. And the Downtown Partnership is supposed to be a group that brings people together. So we should be able to work together in unity and say, how do we work together? That is why I'm making a suggestion that perhaps we should look at that Friday evening. Okay. You want me to take Thursday evening for gospel? I'll take Thursday. But I just don't want the interference with what they're doing and cut us short. Let's look at some options, that's all I'm saying.
And I plan on attending both events, so I'm not gonna compete, I'll be at both events.
No, I mean, you, I mean,
Go to
activities.
another, and I'm hoping that's gonna happen, is that everybody is going to enjoy both events.
Mayor?
This one starts at, yes.
She has a very valid point. When there's music on Market Square, you can hear it all the way across the park. And when there's music in the park, you can hear it at Market Square. So I'm not sure how this arrangement is going to work.
Battle of the bands.
We'll see.
It's not very nice.
We'll see.
Gospel.
I think it'll be a great success with both
Yeah.
events. So I look forward to
Well,
it. Thank you.
Thanks so very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. We're going to go to our public hearing. This is the second reading of ordinance 2022-24, amending chapter 19.
An ordinance of the City of Crescent City, Florida, amending chapter 19 of the Code of Ordinances, rates, fees, and charges for water, wastewater, and natural gas utilities, amending part 1, water and sewer rates, fees, and charges, amending subsection A, deposits, amending subsection E, subsection 2, administrative charges, providing for legislative findings and intent, providing for implementation of administrative action, providing for severability, providing for ratification of prior acts, providing for conflicts, providing for codification and directions to the code codifier, and providing an effective date. Mayor, this item, actually the first reading was a few months ago, where the commission decided to raise the residential rate for rentals, because we had a high number of folks just walking away, and their deposit wasn't covering how much they owed on their water bill, and also increasing the commercial rate from $100 to an average of the previous 3 months. And staff recommends approval of the second reading of ordinance 2022-24.
I move to approve ordinance 2022-24.
Okay, I have a proper motion to approve. I have a second. Commissioners, do we have any discussion at this time before we open it up for public comment?
Well, I'm the one that suggested that we get data on this. I never really saw the data. I think I voted no last time. I don't know. I know staff recommends it, but we didn't see any data on it, so.
Okay. Do we have any public comment at this time? Do we have any additional factual testimony for or against? Seeing nobody come forward, do we have any public comment? Come on up. Please state your name, your address.
Diane Sykes, 304 Chestnut. Is the rate increase because we need a rate increase or just because we've never had one? I mean, that's what I just heard, that we haven't had a rate increase in 5 years, so.
I think you're talking about, maybe you're talking about earlier, we talked about the water, and that's been since '08. We haven't had an increase since '08 on the water. This is on deposits. And
Oh,
so
okay.
we've had an issue with people, especially with renters, that they've walked away and they've left us holding the bill. And so hopefully this will discourage that.
Okay, thank you.
Is that correct, Tor?
Yes.
Do we have anybody else coming that wants to speak? Seeing no one come forward, I'm going to close public comment at this time. Commissioners, we have a proper motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay, so moved.
I was gonna vote nay.
Okay, so you're voting nay? Correct. Okay, hearing for the record. Okay. We want to move to our next item, which is the second reading of ordinance 2022-25, authorizing the transfer of funds from the wastewater expansion fund to the wastewater fund.
An ordinance of the City of Crescent City, Florida, authorizing the transfer of funds from the wastewater expansion fund to the wastewater fund, providing for implementing administrative action, providing for severability, and providing for conflicts, providing for an effective date. Mayor, if you recall, this is a project that runs between Oakwood Street and US 17 to provide a sewer line through there for the development of the parcels, primarily fronting Oakwood, but it will serve commercial parcels that are currently on septic or have been undeveloped on the frontage of Highway 17. We're requesting a transfer of $400,000. The current cost estimate is $357,000, but we want to make sure that was just an estimate that we're covered. And staff recommends approval on second reading.
I make a motion that we approve the second reading of ordinance 2022-25.
Okay,
I'll second.
we have a proper motion and a second. Commissioners, do we have any other discussion?
I was not in favor of funding this particular project because we didn't have a list of where we need expansions and rank them. But this passed on first reading, so there we go.
There we go. And the report that we had, I believe, the other day is that all but 3 of those lots up and down Oakwood have sold. Is that correct? And so we've got a developer that's coming in that's going to, obviously, they are looking at that, and so that's good. We're gonna have some new development there, and that'll be a good addition.
Well, I have a question. If we put this $400,000 for the infrastructure in, is there an impact fee or something for if they're not gonna put in a septic tank, and we're paying for this, how are they gonna get it hooked up? And, if they're gonna save $30,000, $40,000 on a septic tank, they ought to be responsible for some of the fees to hook up to the water tank, because we will never get that money back. That's $400,000 we're basically gonna put the infrastructure in for this developer to make money. So my question is, if we do this $400,000, it's basically gone, but who's gonna hook it up? And is there an impact fee that we should charge someone to utilize this service that's basically gonna be $400,000 out of the fund? This guy's gonna make money.
Traditionally, impact fees would pay for this. We have a moratorium currently on our impact fees, and when the moratorium was passed, I think we brought this up a month or 2 ago, the commission was gonna revisit it in 2018,
And they did it,
and it didn't happen.
and they did. So we still currently have a moratorium on the impact fees.
That's something we can put on a future agenda if you want to reinstate the impact fees.
Well, I just can't see spending $400,000 for 3 homes and the rest of it,
Oh, it's not 3 homes.
it goes up, but right now it's 3 homes. And it's for the future. that
Only
goes up.
3 that are not sold. There's only 3 in there that are not sold.
How many homes is there total?
How many homes are there?
I don't know the total. There's more than one developer.
Yeah.
One guy's going to build, I think, he's built the first home already, probably 3 more, I believe. And then, so I don't know what the total, it depends on if they unify any of the lots or not.
I think the developer should put the fee for a little of this instead of the city eating the whole thing.
I think he's gonna put a huge deposit, a deposit.
He'll do the normal deposit, yeah, for water and sewer, but nothing like an impact fee.
Well, we still have
need
the
to read sections.
opportunity, if we want to visit the impact fees. He hasn't broke ground yet, they haven't broken ground yet, so we have the ability to look at that.
So, Mayor, I have a question. So when we spend the $400,000 from the wastewater expansion fund, what is left in that fund? Doesn't this pretty much wipe it out or significantly reduce it?
Got some ARPA funds in there.
And
There's there'll be about 300,000 or so still in the fund. That fund continues to grow. We put 10% of our revenues, wastewater revenues back into that, so it's just begin to grow.
And what is paying for the repairs on Habitat Way?
The Lime Street and Habitat Way, that money will probably come out of, we haven't requested those funds yet, but that is a waste sewer repair, so we would take that out of our wastewater as well.
The same fund, or this is expansion and we also have repair?
We have a renew and replace fund.
Okay, the R&R.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So that one will be taken care of?
Yes.
so Commissioner Bailey, just with what we're looking at is, as we go forward, eventually, that whole area down there is on septic tanks. So we have a septic to sewer conversion that we're gonna have to look at. So if this is trying to get ahead of that at this time, I understand with your impact fees, that's a very good suggestion. But this way, as they develop, we're not going back in after the fact and asking them to, how we can convert them over to our sewer. So it's trying to get ahead of it.
Yeah, but when the city, at this particular juncture, when they go, this is in the process going forward, need help to do this rather than, I mean, there's 2 houses on the corner that I've seen, one on the block, they don't have a septic yet, so it wouldn't be any kind of a changeover. This would be waiting for this to come through before they hook up. And they are saving significant amount of money by not putting a septic tank in, which nobody wants a septic in the city water table
Well,
of the city.
exactly, and that's why we don't want that. So this is trying to get
I
ahead.
understand that, but I have developed flying communities and stuff before where it was our total responsibility to put in the water before. I think a joint venture of them paying a significant amount, if you had 3, let's say you had 3 houses there at the bottom that are being sold that aren't developed yet, those septic systems would pay a significant amount, 30 grand a piece, toward this 400, where it wouldn't come totally out of the city's budget, is what I'm saying. I mean, they're not there yet with these things, and so we have a little time to go, hey, look.
And that's where an impact fee, we could look at an impact fee. Put an impact fee in there.
This, if you pass this now, the impact fee is out of the question. I mean, they don't need an impact fee if they've already got it.
Well,
They
it's too
still
late
have
for
to.
him. He's gonna put in a septic system if we don't provide a hookup. So we're gonna provide just a temporary hookup while we construct this permanent.
I remember you saying it would be a temporary hookup, and I can see that, but you gotta put the infrastructure in for the temporary hookup to be done.
Yes, it'll be temporary, temporary lift station until the permanent station is installed.
So, and Mayor, may I just get clarification on that?
Wait just 1 second, because Commissioner Banks.
How many we can pump off that temporary?
I'd have to ask Keith about that, yeah. It's just a temporary measure.
Yeah, I know we discussed it a little bit last meeting we had.
We're going through permitting and design the project. We're moving ahead at best possible speed to meet his needs for that house and for the house that he plans to build. If it's your direction, I can put it on the commission agenda next month to introduce to lift the moratorium, and to do some research and see what those fees were.
And I would suggest that we table this and wait for the impact fee to see if we can.
Well, this project has moved forward. Those expenses are coming. So my recommendation is to go ahead and this ship is moving. So to catch up, we're playing catch up on this project. We need to get, it's just a transfer of funds is what this does, and we'll continue designing the project.
Okay, Commissioner DeVito, you said you needed some clarification?
Well, just while we're on the subject, so the temporary hookup is going to cost how much and be for what period of time?
I'd have to get that information for you.
Okay, if you could, that would be great.
Okay. I'm going to open it up for public comment at this time. So we'll have public comments, we can move forward. Additional, I haven't done additional factual testimony for or against. If anybody is wanting to speak on, okay. Seeing nobody, I'm going to open it up for public comment.
Diane Sykes, 384 Chestnut. I have a question. This is infrastructure. Are there no grants available for infrastructure that we can apply for?
There are. So, and so the application we currently have in with CDBG, it'll be probably 18 months before we can break ground on that project. And this project needs to go now.
Will they back pay? I mean, if you...
Unfortunately.
That was my question. I'm sure that, there should be grants available for it.
Unfortunately, no. Thank you. Yes, sir. You'd state your name and your address, please.
My name's Steve Kenworthy. I live at 1 Magnolia. I think it's kind of ludicrous to think about passing something when you don't have all the proper information available, number one. Number two, temporary to some people means 5 years. Some, it means 3 weeks or a month. So when you say temporary, I know it's going to take time to put the proper infrastructure in there. But temporary, you're going to have to nail it down and get some more facts and figures, I think, before you can pass this thing.
Thank you.
My name is Doreen Freeman. I don't live in the city of Crescent City, but I do have from past experience living in Sanford, Florida, that a big developer had promised the city that he would do this 3-phase development on a piece of property that the city gave to him. After the first phase was done, he was bye-bye. And I just feel like y'all need to get something in writing and firm, because, you could go down that same pathway if you don't. Developers they come and they go. And you just got to be sure, because all the people here are residents, they're going to stay. But developers, once they make their money, they're gone. So just be careful. Thank you.
Tracy Eckhart, 109 North Prospect Street. My understanding from the last meeting, which I was in attendance, the engineer was here, he had drawings, he explained it very well. I know a lot of people here in attendance tonight were not here for that. But I have no question this is the right thing to do after listening to the engineer's presentation, seeing the drawings. We have to have the infrastructure. We haven't had it for years. It's way overdue. The last thing we want is more septic. I mean, we've got a problem real close to us with a big campaign going, don't poop on Putnam, no human sewage. And we need to take care of this here. Now, I would guess that they have to pay to hook up from their house to main line. But that's part of paying city taxes, is having city services. And if you can relook at the impact fees for future, that's great. But this is a second reading. This has already started. This needs to move forward.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments? Okay, Commissioners, I'm going to bring it back. We've got to close out public comment. We have a motion and we have a second for approval. Charles, I will ask you this. So they haven't even started their permit. So if we wanted to bring an impact, we still have time, don't you we can still do the impact and charge on the impact.
I don't know, I'll have to find out.
Okay. I believe.
He has
I
an
believe we-
expectation at this point.
Yeah, I don't think we can. Well, number one, it wouldn't be fair, and number one, I don't think we can do it.
Okay.
He may have an expectation, yeah, that we're in place when he began his
When he
development.
began that, okay, well, that's something for us to look into, that we can bring back as we,
Have
as
we
we move
promised
in the
this guy
future.
that this would be done? I mean, this contractor, have we promised it?
We haven't promised, we've asked him to slow down to meet our schedule so we can launch a sewer, to not put in a septic tank. And as far as I know, he's willing to accommodate us.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, so moved. Okay, we're gonna move on to, this is our second reading of ordinance 2022-26, amending chapter 9.1 of the Code of Ordinances.
An ordinance of the City of Crescent City, Florida, amending chapter 9.1 of the Code of Ordinances, definitions, trash receptacle, providing for legislative finding and intent, providing for implementing administrative action, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for codification and directions to the code codifier, and providing an effective date.
Mayor, this is the second reading of an ordinance to redefine a trash container in our ordinance from 35 gallon capacity to a 96 gallon trash receptacle. Staff recommends approval on second reading.
Thank you. Commissioners, can I get a motion?
I move to approve the second reading of ordinance 2022-26.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Commissioners, do we have any discussion? Commissioner Burton, we'll start with you.
Okay, I'm ready to go to
Okay.
96,
Okay.
I'm ready for that.
Anybody else?
This is already passed as far as the totes, correct?
Yes, yes.
And this ordinance does exactly what?
Just redefines
We have
Cleans the book
36.
up.
a trash receptacle in the city.
We had a limit of 36, I think it was 36
Used
gallons.
to-
This
Our
takes
code
30.
used to limit the trash can in the city to
36 to
35.
90.
Yeah.
And when does that go into effect?
Yes.
It would be tonight if you
Tonight.
pass second reading.
Okay, second reading.
And so the toters will be in compliance with our ordinance.
Y'all ready in order, and I see.
So with that, if there's no other discussion, I'm gonna open it up for any additional factual testimony for or against. Seeing no one come forward, we're gonna open it up for public input. If anybody has any public input on this, please come forward, state your name, your address.
Same old public input. Same old.
You keep them going.
It's the same old public input. There are many of us in town, you excluded, Ms. Burton, who are older and will have difficulty with these trash cans. And I, for one, am just gonna leave mine out in the street and take my trash to it, like Mr. Banks suggested.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna close public comment. We have a proper motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
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 Okay, we have 2 days. Karen, got that? Okay, we're gonna move on to the second reading of ordinance 2022-28, repealing the police pension plan and enacting a substituted trust fund.
An ordinance of the City of Crescent City, Florida, repealing the police pension plan created in September 1976 and enacting a substituted trust fund named City of Crescent City Retired Police Officers Substituted Trust Fund to pay benefits to retired police officers who choose to remain in the pension plan, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for codification and directions to the code codifier, and providing for an effective date.
Mayor, this is the second reading of the ordinance to repeal the current police pension plan. There are only 2 recipients left in the plan, which would create a substituted trust fund, which would provide those funds of individuals from now on.
And it's required for us to do this by
Yes.
law, correct, within 24 months? Okay.
All right, so moved.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioners, do we have any?
I have one question.
Okay.
Who's gonna be the executive of the trust?
You don't want to know.
Yeah, I do want to, that's why I asked.
Well, actually, there's an actuary that's going to be the one that is going to be dealing with the money. We here in the city, we don't.
And Bonnie's still involved.
Yes.
Bonnie Jensen, the attorney, involved as well.
Yeah.
So it's not run.
What's the benefit of having the trust instead of what's been done since 1976?
It's my understanding that the state of Florida requires us, since the police department
It's a
was
requirement by the state.
within 2 years, and I believe, I wasn't here while that happened with the police department, but I believe it happened in like February, so February would be our 2-year mark. It's just a requirement of the state requiring us to do this because we
So
don't
we
have.
basically have no choice but to do this within the 2-year statute.
Yes, sir.
And the
Thank you.
city, is not involved in the funds. The only thing we would have to do is, we would have to subsidize if in fact there was, which they have always done, if in fact it doesn't meet the payouts that is required. But we have, right now, we just have 2 that are left on this. Everyone else went ahead and they did the payout. They did the payout from it. But I think there's been a misconception out there that the city is responsible for this money, but the city is not. The city is not. We have an actuary that actually does this, and very secured. You know, Sheila, and talking to Sheila, and you can talk to her at any time. She has, just to even get any information from them, I mean, the series of securities that they have to go through, just for her to get any information. It's pretty extensive.
Well, that's why I asked, because I had a little to do with this before, where the pension funds run by the federal government. The state sometimes does the trust. It's a lot easier to get into a trust than it is the federal pension. And I'm only looking after the 2 guys or 3 or whatever was there, that they make sure they get their money, nobody else gets their hand on it. So if this is something that has to be done by the state, mandatory to put it in a trust, I can see that. But if it's just switching to be switching, I just wonder why.
Okay.
If I could respond to one of Commissioner Bailey's questions. And as the mayor and Charles have said, we're required to make this change by the state because it's a substitute pension plan, it's a trust. There will be a board in the ordinance, section 277, administration, and when I said you don't want to know, the way it was written, there's a 3-person board. I asked about this on first reading. It's 1 retiree elected by a majority of the retired members of the plan. Well, there's only 2 members, and there's only actually one plan member. One is a survivor.
Yeah.
There's our city human resource specialist, and then there's a 3rd trustee appointed by the other 2. So I asked the attorney this. She said, well, we could change it if we want. I'm not sure that we have the best setup for the board because there's no one who's really expert in finance, but that's what we have, and the attorney said this could be changed. And as well, there's not a good provision if there's only 1 person left. I mean, this could go on for 30 years. So I'm not really happy with it. And as well, as I understand it, it's not really accurate to say the city is not responsible. We are the funder of last resort. If the funds don't produce sufficient income, then the city, as I understand it, has to.
I stated that. I stated we would have to supplement that if we did not meet that. I did not
Right.
say that we're not responsible. We would have to supplement that.
Okay.
But we are not handling this account.
No, we don't handle, okay.
We did
just
not
wanna make
handle this
sure-
account, so.
Right,
sure
that's
that-
clear, but we are the ultimate funder, and it does concern me that in the 4 years I was on the commission, we never received a financial report. And the last information we have, as I see it, we have a report December 20th, 2021, from the attorney that says the amount the plant had as of September 30th, 2021, and of course there have been payouts since then. And they gave us the return on investment for the prior year when the stock market was up. That was over 20%, but that situation is very different. So the bottom line is, the commission rarely gets a status report on the finances, and somehow I think that that should come our way.
Well, and in the past, it's my understanding that when we had the pension plan, that it was a select of the officers, and then I believe Debbie was on that also.
Right.
So the officers have all kind of controlled that. We had one retiree that stepped in just because, and he was a retired commissioner, and I believe he might have served on this as well. So, and it's been really trying to get the information from them. Now thankfully we have Bonnie, and she can do that, but.
Well, somehow I'm saying of all the finances in the city, the commission rarely if ever gets a report of what money is in the police pension fund, or the substituted trust, and I think that should come to us.
Okay.
I have two questions. One is when the anniversary date is for the 24 months to be up.
It's going to be March, I believe it's March 11th.
And the second is what happens if this doesn't pass? It's a state law that what you're telling me is that you basically have to do it. Is that right?
So this was
Be in compliance with the state law.
Yeah, I don't know the ramifications of it not passing. This is handled by an outside law firm that was hired to dissolve the pension plan, so I have an answer to if this didn't pass. I just know that I've talked to Ms. Jensen and that we had to do it within the 2-year mark. That's really the extent. I don't know the ramifications of us not doing it.
And I know when they hired her that Ms. Jensen came highly recommended too, as someone that deals with this and handles these, and so I think that's why they hired her. With that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for additional factual testimony for or against, and I'm going to open it up for public input. Do we have any public input? Okay. I'm going to close public input at this time. Commissioners, we have a motion. We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, so moved. Okay, we're going to go to the first reading of ordinance 2022-29, amending the fiscal year 2022 budget.
An ordinance of the City of Crescent City, Florida, amending the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget to match the actual revenues and expenditures.
And I believe, Charles, we need to add that language into that.
Yeah, the other funds.
Yeah.
So I passed out, Commissioner DeVito requested the schedule of accounts. So I printed out a hard copy for you.
Wow, so we now have, in all of our combined accounts, $5,781.
$81,909.31.
Thank you.
Our presentation. Mayor, this is a closeout of the previous fiscal year. Essentially, a year ago, we adopted a budget with projected revenues and anticipated expenses. And as we've gone through the year, we've come back to you now with the actual revenue numbers and the actual expenditures. And I did a summary in your cover sheet, and I've tried to summarize it a little more here for the audience. So in our general fund, the first column represents the original budget. We had estimated we'd have $1.9 million in revenue. At the middle year, we did a budget amendment. We found, as you recall, we found a lot of undesignated funds when our consultant was looking through the
all the funding. We had 15 bank accounts, and it was just a mess. So the reality was we had $2.19 million in revenue. The third column is the actuals. So to break it down, the commission, we did not ask for an amendment, so we had anticipated spending $58,227. We actually spent $54,706. In finance administration, this was the estimate. We amended the budget mid-year, and then the actuals were $418,950. Legal, again, that did not change. The actuals were $47,000 because we did not use outside counsel. We had a little bit of money for outside counsel. On utility billing, we had actually adjusted that up a little bit, and then it came in pretty close to our original projection. For planning and zoning, we had 25.5. We had taken a guess at what our planning consultant would cost. Based on activity, we added more money for 40,000, and it came in at 53,827. Because there were times when he was pretty busy, and we were going through things like our comp plan amendment and so forth, where he spent a lot of time with us. Other government general, actually in the budget, law enforcement is within our government general, but I always peel them out for the presentation. Law enforcement is a 3-year contract that has not changed. Other government general, we estimated 161,802. We actually adjusted that down a little bit, and then the reason it came way up is there's a $100,000 expenditure in there, which was administrative transfer from the year before that got put into the last year and needed to be removed. So our fire control, we had budgeted 117. We came back with more volunteer. We amended that to allow for more volunteer incentives. So the actual was 131. That had to work. Our volunteer hours are way up. Code enforcement, we amended that a little bit, and then it came in nearly that amount. Our streets, we had amended that, and then actually did spend that money on a number of projects, and then Parks and Rec as well. We put a lot of money in there for particularly under improvements other than buildings, and then those expenditures were only at 82, 83, 34. So you can see overall for the general fund at the end of the year, it was pretty close at $1,936. For the CRA, what we have is we had estimated this revenue number was both new revenue and what was left over from the previous year. So this was what we estimated. It actually came in a little bit less than that. Our expenditures, we estimated we would spend the entire amount. Obviously, we have to account, show that we will spend everything. And then our actual expenditures were 218. In the North CRA, again, the numbers match. This was anticipated. Came in a little bit less, the revenues, and then the expenses were way below what we had budgeted. And same with the South. The South, the expenditures were much less than what we had budgeted. In the Better Place plan, again, this Better Place revenue is a combination of what was left in the fund from the previous year and anticipated new tax, penny tax going in there. This is the actual. And then his expenses, what we said was we would spend $385,000 and keep $127,200 as a contingency. And so the reality was we spent $363,000, and then we have a carry forward the fund balance of $235,270. In our natural gas, you recall last year we bumped up not the rate, but the connection fees to try to, because that fund was running in the red last year. And so we see that, and this number is so huge because we have the gas line relocation project for DOT. So that project's only about halfway through, so we've gotten about $700,000 of that money in and out. It just, basically we pay the bill and they reimburse us. But you can see the result was we did end up in the black, almost $30,000, so that's good news for the gas department. The water utility, not so much. Again, we budgeted those as a wash, and then revenue did come in a little higher than we had projected, but our expenses were much higher. The price of brass went way up, the price of meters, all our parts and equipment. Of course, fuel went up, so we did face a budget loss, and that's where we're transferring money from the basically the water fund reserves into that fund, put a little bit in the black. And then finally, wastewater did much better. Revenues were better than anticipated, about $30,000. Expenses were less than anticipated, so we added to the fund balance of $74,159.
What are the costs of the meters?
I have Keith here to tell me that. What we found was when you order a meter, they say, well, it'll be in February. And then so we order a bunch of them to try to have them when we need them, rather than have to put people off until.
I just didn't know how much that was. I mean, I probably made the water up at 68,000.
Yeah, buying those extra
meters.
So, in conclusion, what this ordinance will do, and we do need to talk about amend the language a little bit, is approve these. This is for our next audit. When we do the audit, we've adopted these changes. It will transfer the $68,000 from the water reserves into the water fund to make up that difference. If you look on the ordinance, under now therefore be it ordained, under section 1, accounts in the general fund, we need to add CRA fund, better place fund, wastewater fund, water fund is already there, and water repair replacement fund are amended as shown in Exhibit A. So we need that language added in the motion. The CRA fund, the better place fund, wastewater fund.
Okay, so we have to add 3 funds.
Yes, because we
To the language to section 1.
the only inter-fund transfer we made is from water reserves to water. The other is just within their funds.
And then at the end, again, because this has to be, when we do this, we really want to have it done by the end of November, so we have to change that date. Karen had, so we'll change that.
Oh, the date on here?
Yeah, because we've set it for the 29th of November.
And also, Mayor, could I bring up a couple of things?
Well, right now, if I can, before we start discussing that, can we have a motion?
So I move that we adopt ordinance 2022-29, amending the fiscal year 2021-22 budget to match actual revenues and expenditures with the following changes. Section 1 to read accounts in the general fund and insert better place plan fund, CRA plan fund, and wastewater fund between general fund and water fund.
And I'm sorry, natural gas fund.
Natural
Okay.
gas.
And as well include natural gas fund.
Okay.
All the funds.
Okay. We have a motion, a proper motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Well, actually, this has to do with my motion.
So, what has to do with your motion?
My comment actually needed to be in the motion. There's the actual budget figures that are attached. The motion refers to the actual budget as Exhibit A. In my copy, it's not labeled Exhibit A. Charles said that needed to be added.
Oh, to label this,
The label.
Yeah,
label
to
this
label
as
the budget
exhibit,
as
okay.
Exhibit A.
So you're adding that, so you're amending your motion to add
Yes,
that.
I would like to amend my motion to add as well that the attached budget pages, which are
Be properly titled.
Yes, as Exhibit A.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Burton? Okay. Okay, commissioners, do we have any discussion?
Actually, I discussed this with Charles this morning and also the person from Clarion who's working on our finances. My only concern about the way that this is done is we only have 2 columns. We have the anticipated previously adopted budget and then the final budget. There's no column that shows what the over and under are, and there's no footnotes that explain when there are overs or unders that are significant, what was the cause of those. For example, the 700 and something dollars from DOT for the gas relocation line and the gas fund. I mean, there's no explanation on any of this.
So you would like a footnote, so I went through and did that myself, I did the over and unders on each column on my own, so that I had that, to make sure of, and that 700,000, that was the one that was back and forth with the DOT, So what you're asking for is to have footnotes on this, and an additional column that shows under and over?
I don't think, this is a question for Bobby, I don't think we can really do that at this point, it's not in front of us.
Well, this is first reading.
Well, my thing is, what you're asking for, I believe, is already, and I'm not saying, hopefully I don't say this wrong. The information is there, you just want it conveyed in a more descriptive manner, so I don't think we're changing. It's also an exhibit that's attached to it, so I don't think that would be a problem if we gave more information. It's not necessarily changing the ordinance.
I mean, that's not a problem, Darrell, we can easily do that, I believe.
You want an explanatory column before the second reading? Is that,
When you say an explanatory column.
in other words, that comments column?
Footnotes, you just want some footnotes. What kind of footnotes are you looking for? Not a footnote on each item.
No, for those significant changes, I mean, this is the way our budget used to be prepared, this is an amended budget, and my concern is that for the auditor or for anyone in the public who goes back to look at this, unless you're very, very familiar with our budget, the information is here, it's just not very meaningful to anybody except the person who actually prepared it. And our budget used to be prepared with, some explanatory notes to say,
Well, at the bottom, it would say administrative for salaries, and it would just put footnote.
Right.
It would footnote that it was your salary, the director's salary. There wasn't extensive, it just had a few footnotes at the very bottom, some asterisks on it.
Right.
So that's what you're asking for.
well, I'm saying, I don't think we can go into the salary detail, but a footnote explaining significant overs and unders, I think would be important. Because we're doing an amended budget to show the changes.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that, Charles, do you have that's fine. More transparent, that's fine. I think all in all, given where we were, and where we've come with our finance department, people, we have, poor Charles. We have come a long way. We still have a ways to go, but we have come a long ways. We have come a long ways. So that's your motion, and she seconded. So do we have any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for additional factual testimony for and against. Seeing none, I'll open it up for public input. Do we have any public input on this? Please state your name and your address.
Lisa Roddenberry, 229 South Prospect. My question is that recently, of course, it was being published that we were $700,000 in the red. It happened in July. It happened in July 2022, I think. It was just one page out of a rather extensive budget. When you guys were just bantering about $700,000 DOT, something like, you guys are talking in kind of a shorthand language because you know where it's coming from. Is that addressing that huge shortfall, or why was there this big shortfall? Is it because it was a draft and you guys were, that was what the working document was, and it had errors and omissions in it like the notes said in the meeting notes? Were those things, sometimes it'll be wrong because you guys, it is a working document? I'm not talking about this one right now, I'm talking the one that said draft back in July.
Charles, can you address that, because
Thank you.
I guess, and that was advertised
On Facebook, of course.
Oh, where
Yes,
everything's,
sure, yeah.
where everything's
It-
factual, where
yeah.
everything's factual, okay.
Well, yeah, but,
okay.
sometimes
Thank
it's,
you.
you get that little thing and you wanna go, there's a reason, and I would like to know the reason.
Okay,
That's all.
So that was on our worksheet from July. There were 3 columns. The first column was the estimated revenues and anticipated expenses. The middle column was estimated actuals. And then the final column was the budget proposal at that time. It was changing each workshop. And so the first column showed a $700,000 deficit in red because the expenditures, we had $500,000 for an ambulance station had been there, and $200,000 was what we call fire truck money, had been undesignated formally, so we had moved it into the fire department fund. And so our Jody got involved. She goes, those are capital expenditures, we need to move those out. The ambulance station project switched to water, those funds got moved to the water fund. So what happened was she didn't take those, she didn't take them out of both sides of the equation. So it looked like we had budgeted for a deficit, which we all know we budgeted for 0. If you look at the anticipated actuals, we were at that time estimating $270,000 in surplus fund balance here. So that was just a working document. It was a mistake that she didn't take it out of both sides of the debit and credit equation. But it wasn't our budget. We know we didn't adopt the budget with a $700,000 deficit. So someone not knowing how to read the spreadsheet.
Mayor, if I could make one comment. That's one reason I asked Charles, that question came to me, and I asked Charles, when we looked at the document, that of course it was for a workshop, so it went online and everyone could see it. So it was confusing. So that's one reason that I suggested we have a few footnotes on Schedule A, so that when people look at it in retrospect, it's not confusing. We don't have so many questions that come up.
And also, I would encourage everyone that if you see something out there on Facebook that you're not quite sure of, we're accessible. Please reach out to us. Please, before you panic, before you do anything, we're accessible. We're trying to be as transparent as we possibly can be. When you get into the accounting portion of this, it's very extensive. It really is, and it takes commissioners a little while to even get a grasp of it. And, so I know for the general public, when they see some of these figures back and forth, I mean, like right now, if you'll look, we haven't had any ad valorem come in to the city at this time. But we've had bills that had to be paid, but we know all of that's coming in. It's kind of like your checkbook. I know my checkbook on Sunday looks much different than it does on Monday, because everything has processed through the bank. And on Monday, I'm not looking nearly the way I did on Sunday. So it's that same thing. But by all means, I just encourage all of you. We're so accessible. You can find us out on the road. You can find us at restaurants, Winn-Dixie. Call us. Just ask us. Just ask us. We'll be happy. And if we don't have the answers, I know I've heard from my fellow commissioners that they go try to find that answer as best they can. And so we will do that. And sometimes you'll bring that to our attention. And we appreciate that as well. So with that, do we have any other public comment at this time? Okay, seeing none, commissioners, I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to close public comment. With that, we have a motion. We have a second. And all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. So moved. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead at this time, and I'm going to recess this meeting, and then I'm going to open up the CRA. So we've got the sidewalk mural.
Yes, first item is consideration of sidewalk bench mural design concepts. You recall when we got your permission, the partnership came in and asked permission to paint murals under the benches, to put out a call for artists. They said they'd come back to show you so you could have some assurance of what the content of those murals might be. So those are in the packet. Really what I think they're looking for is just a nod that everything looks good and proper and to proceed with the project.
I so move to approve the sidewalk bench mural design concepts. Move that forward. I have one question.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner DeVito second. Commissioner Burton, you can start off.
Yeah. I saw a concept drawing in here from Julie West.
Yes.
I want to see her get underneath that bench and do that. But it's a beautiful concept, and I'd love to see that. So here it is right here. I don't know for all of you, but this is what.
That's her rendering.
That's her rendering of what she would like to put down. It's just very, very nice. It's very pretty. I don't care if we pass that around if we want. But yeah, I was impressed. I was impressed with all of it, but I did notice that Judy has it in here. I'll have to help her up, I'm sure, so.
I'm not gonna tell her you said that. I'm not gonna tell her you said that. Okay, do we have any other discussion?
Real nice.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
I just have two questions.
Uh-huh.
One, is it my understanding the downtown partnership is paying for this? Or is the CRA paying for it?
The partnership's paying for it.
Okay, the partnership's paying for it, and then is all the work gonna be done at one time, or are they gonna stagger this out?
So the artists will have time to work on their murals. I believe we're giving them through till the end of the year.
February, I thought. The 1st of February?
Well, we were gonna have them complete by the 1st of February, but they're not gonna just work at them in one sitting. It'll be several sittings. The partnership's actually gonna prep the slab for them with primer, get it ready for paint. And the medium isn't the best for an artist. They'll all be on the ground, obviously, so it's not something that can be done in one sitting. We're hoping to do the big debut in February. But the artists will work on them throughout till the 1st or 2nd week of the year.
Okay.
Okay, do you have any other questions? Okay. Nobody have any other questions? I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment, see if anybody has anything they want to add. Do we have any public comment on this? We were in Tallahassee recently, and we took some pictures where they had done this at a restaurant, and everybody had blocks, and they did their own block, and it was just a really neat effect that they had. It brought a lot of color and life to that, to it. So. Okay, no comments. We're going to close public comments. Commissioner, we have a motion of acceptance and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so moved.
Second item is consideration of a grant award for 11 South Lake Street. You notice in your monthly finance packet for the CRA, we budgeted $40,000 for grants, and we have spent $14,425 already and committed another $7,650. So that leaves us just under $18,000 remaining in the grant program. This first grant is for 11 South Lake Street. The request was to paint the building and to improve the signs, repaint the signs, and redesign the building. This is obviously Three Bananas, have been an anchor in our downtown and a regional draw. Even though this wasn't similar to, we painted some other buildings recently where we did a 50% grant. We felt they were important to the downtown, and the improvement would be a benefit to our efforts downtown moving forward. So we're recommending the same as we did previously for the other applicants for its 50% match.
So it'll be a 50% match.
So the grant will be $7,550.
Did we get bids for that, or?
You can see the sign bid. There was 2 sign bids, C&C vinyl signs at $3,800, designs at $2,600, and then for painting, CE Burbeck for $12,500, and all new painting for $16,300. So we're recommending selecting design signs and CE Burbeck for a total of $15,100 work and to provide the 50% match.
Well, it's the same painters that did the red building on the corner with the fire truck?
Yes.
They did a great job.
Yeah, they really did. Okay, commissioners, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. A motion, we take, the, proposed thing and do the 50%, pay the money to Three Bananas and the painter.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Can I get a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Commissioners, do we have any other discussion?
Yes.
Okay?
We actually have two people, I have a lot of trouble. We have two people that are looking for, some money to do certain things. And, one of them, of course, I think, are both of them in the North CRA?
No, both in the central CRA.
So they're both in the central. The problem I have is, I mean, I want to just explain something, because if you were to look at how the staff feels with the Three Bananas, it feels, well, this property was not blighted, vacant, or targeted for redevelopment. The project will enhance the curb appeal and contribute to the revitalization efforts of the CRA. And on the other one, it says kind of, the staff feels that while this project may improve the site and building, this was neither a blighted nor vacant site, nor is it a redevelopment target. I mean, both of them seem to not be blighted, and both of them seem to not be vacant, and so they say, go ahead and do this one, but not this one. And so I did a little bit of research, and I don't know if I should talk about the next one, but I don't know if it's the right time. But anyway, I just don't like the wording, but I did come to a conclusion on both of them. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out, because I think that's important, not to understand why maybe this one you wouldn't take and not that one. I don't know if that opens up any questions or not, but.
Take the one you don't take the other.
Yeah, they recommend to take one and then not the other one. I can tell you that the one that is coming up is on 311 North Summit Street. It's a little different type of business going on. I'm going to assume that it has a conditional use permit, but again, I don't think this is the right time. We are talking about Three Bananas. I just didn't. I think there needs to be a discussion on both before we, I think everybody just should put everything on the table for both of them. I don't know if we can do that or not. I don't know how that works.
Yes.
Could I? Well, okay, so to me, it's my understanding that these two proposals we have before us would come from two different CRA pots. Is that not correct?
No.
That's not correct.
No.
They're both the central CRA.
They're both, the 311 is in the central CRA?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
How much was the 311 for?
It's right here. It's in the packet.
I'm just looking at this.
Go almost to the end. See how far down I am?
Oh, in the back. I was just going off the agenda.
No, your backup's gonna be here, so
Okay,
here,
it would be-
I'll share mine with you.
If we went with the lowest bid, it'd be $10,000 for the parking area, and $32.72 for the painting, if you did 100% of the painting.
And if we did a split with her, it would be 7,500. I mean, Commissioner, we can take them both up if the commission is in agreement that we discuss these right now at the same time. So it would have to be the commission wanting to discuss these, because they're both coming from the same pot of money.
Yeah, they are. And you said there wasn't a whole lot of money there.
And it's not that the 311 North is a bad project or the wrong project, just
Well,
we gotta focus on central and work. So in future years, we'll be able to go wider and wider, and we'll do grants for.
I do want to say this, and I mean, when I first read this, I mean, if I'm 311 North Summit, I'm saying, whoa, why not me too? I mean, I have the same criteria, as this guy. Okay, why do you not pick me? So I just went and I did just for the sake of argument, was that we did a little research, and the 311 North Summer Street is actually someone's home. It's homesteaded. That's why I think it must have a conditional use permit
She
to
does.
do the salon.
She has a salon in there, and she had that salon built out a couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago.
With her.
But it's a totally different kind of condition on that, because because it is someone's personal home. And so, I think in that way, I could kind of understand maybe not doing this, because she could just sell it and it would go right back to a resident. It could go right back into a residential home, I think. Okay.
What's
There
it zoned for?
Okay,
General.
I'll open it up for public comment in just a minute.
I just need to understand the whole concept of all this.
What's it zoned for?
General commercial,
General.
GC1.
Okay, Mayor, could I make a comment here?
Yeah.
Okay, Crescent City traditionally in our business district combines commercial and residential. That is that's our history, that's our zoning. This particular owner does a booming business in her hair salon. She spent a fortune to build out a hair salon. That portion of the property could not easily go back to being a residence, but this whole thing points up concerns that I raised about this grant program earlier. I suggested that we make it all 50% or even a revolving loan. I don't like the fact that it wasn't particularly advertised to all our businesses. People heard about it. And as well, it's gotten to be kind of a fight over a swiftly diminishing pot. I'm very concerned that neither of these projects, although they're great businesses, are what we originally targeted. And what else is there in the pipeline? It's my understanding that there's a building on Central Avenue that was just recently made into a business, where the owner has been in conversation with the CRA manager about also applying for this grant, but somehow it's not in our package. So how many other, and I mean no disrespect to people that have theirs in the package, but how many other potential projects are there in the pipeline for this very limited amount of money?
There are 3. There's 2 that have submitted applications. It was too late for this agenda, and 1 more that bids are being collected for. So this is going to come down to you all deciding where the money goes. Whether another way to do a grant program is to have a deadline, and everybody has to get it all in by the deadline. Then you guys, and it's really competitive. You have to pick and choose who gets money or how much. And the problem is, though, if somebody comes in right after the deadline, they've got to wait a year to come in. And like, sorry, you missed it. It's too late. So this way, the money. We did have a targeted set of our older, historic, traditional buildings on Central that are mostly vacant, blighted. We want to clean them up. That was kind of the target. We have, I think the Central CRA has at least 10 years left. So we have a lot of time where the tip will keep growing, and we'll be able to do more and more projects that aren't, eventually we'll be doing things that aren't that critical, but it's nice to do. They've made the application. But here in the beginning, we're working with very limited funds. We really want to, my recommendation is we sort through and try to target those buildings that we'll really keep building on. I think repainting 3 Bananas and sprucing up the signs will add. It's in that cluster of other buildings that we've done already. Will add significantly to our momentum. I think the project on the north end is not a blighted structure. It doesn't look bad. It's a nice looking place. She wants to expand her parking so it's more organized for her customers. There's grass and concrete, so as they come in and they don't park right and it's not efficient. So this would put concrete and would stripe it and be more efficient. But it'd be, we checked to make sure she wasn't going to exceed her impervious surface and she's okay. So it's like an add-on when we've still got some really challenging properties that we're either getting bids on or encouraging the property owner to apply for a grant. So I think my feeling is we keep our eye on the ball to, we're about to run out for this fiscal year, and you'll be able to, you can shift money over if you want to shift from another line. If we want to fund some more projects, we can talk about that. Or we say, we're kind of done with that part of our approach until next October when we get our new tip, or we shift money from other areas in the meantime. So any way you do it, it's going to come down to competitive, where you're deciding between applicants.
Yeah.
You're going to have to make that call.
Mayor, could I say something about that? So, we're only 2 months into the fiscal year, and we're about to run out of funds for the grants. Charles has made the suggestion that we could move money from another line, but we don't have that in front of us. My suggestion is that we table this until December 8th and see how much, if any, other funds could be added to this grant pot. And as well, that we look at putting a few more tightening provisions in here. But I just hate to see us run out 2 months into the fiscal year and not consider the people that are in the pipeline and see how we can be fair about it. Because, boy, was that short.
Okay, so what we've got right now is a motion on 3 bananas, so we would have to rescind that motion, and then I need a motion to table these until the December 8th meeting. Is that correct? Is that a motion? If that's what the commission wants to do. But right now, we have a motion on 3 bananas, and we haven't taken public comments yet.
So let's withdraw the motion. And then what was the language that you were saying?
We would table it.
Yeah, we
should
will
table
table.
it.
Commissioner Bailey made the motion.
Yeah, Commissioner Bailey said you would have to rescind your motion.
Well, I don't want to rescind my motion.
Okay.
This is before me, they filled out the paperwork, we have the money in the bank, you have 18,000, right, to deal with now. These people went through the trouble to fill out the paperwork, get everything done on time in this commission. I think they have to.
Well, we didn't give them a timeline, so I just want to make, please know I'm not correcting you, I just want to make sure you understand, there's not a timeline given that was given to them.
They got it in with this agenda.
The packet, but he's got, yes, and he has, I guess, 3 other ones that are also working on this as well. So we have a motion, and then who made the second, Karen?
Commissioner Banks.
So Commissioner Banks, if you want to withdraw your second, you can withdraw your second.
Well, I withdraw the second.
Okay, so we currently now have a motion by Commissioner Bailey, and then do we have a second before we open up for public comment? Okay, motion fails. At this time, do we want to go ahead and make another motion before we?
I would move that we table these applications until December 8th, that we bring it back at that time, and that also we ask the city manager to bring to us the CRA budget so that we can see if there's a possibility to add any more funds to this particular grant program.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to table and a proper second. Do we have any other discussion? Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I believe there were some people here that wanted to speak. Before we vote on this, I would allow you with the opportunity. We are going to table this until December 8th. That doesn't mean that we're saying no at this time. It's just we're going to gather some additional information. So does anybody want to speak? I know, Anna, you've been sitting here the entire time. Okay, then please, if you would, if you want to come forward and speak, you have, state your name and your address.
Alice McCoy, 315 North Summit. I'm next door to 311. I don't know that it was stated, but I think you should understand that it is a beauty shop, and yes, her property and my property both are commercial residential. And you do a homestead if you're going to live there, which I do, and she does. but they only homestead you on a portion. It's the portion you live in. You still pay commercial for everything else, and anything you do to that property, then the commercial side, you have to get a commercial contractor, and it goes through the same as if it was a standalone building. The reasons Kathy is requesting to be able to extend her parking lot is because she has a lot of elderly clients that come, and backing out on Summit Street on Route 17 is very hard for them, very hard sometimes. And they're afraid of the backing up. So what she was going to do was extend her parking lot so they could turn around inside her property and then pull out onto Route 17 in a safer manner. And so that's why she was requesting to change her parking lot.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. We have, yes. I've tried to pull out of that parking lot. That's it. Everybody else?
Angel Dugan for North Lake Street. As I'm listening to all these grants being issued and information being distributed about grants that's available, I look at my beautiful building right there on the corner. As soon as you come to Crescent City, you see this beautiful brick building, but it needs the exterior to be painted. And I like to find out, how do I apply for a grant? Seeing that a lot of activities going on Central Avenue, but stops right at my building. And that building, when you drive into Crescent City, that's what you see. And I don't like what I see. And I looked at painting it myself, and then one time Patrick was going to help me get the better placement fund, and tried to 50% to help offset the costs. I think that's a building that definitely be in consideration, and I would simply like to know, how do I apply for a grant?
You want to paint the brick, that beautiful red
Not-
brick?
No,
Oh,
the trim.
oh, the trim,
I
okay.
would
Okay, I was just,
Never leave, yes.
I'd like to ask a question, if I could. How are we getting the word out to the business owners that this money is available? As I'm sitting here listening to her, she just doesn't know the process of where it was at. If we have these funds, is it open to every business that meets this criteria that they can apply, and how do they do that?
Well, we have an existing facade grant program that's been around for years, and that one's just, it's still in place, wasn't being used, and still hasn't been used. This was a redevelopment grant that I introduced with specific buildings in mind. We began doing renderings of the buildings. And yeah, so there isn't enough money to do all the work of those buildings. So we haven't advertised this and encouraged people to apply, just generally speaking. We have gone to specific buildings that are empty or used as storage or cracked. You know, the buildings that we've done so far, we approached those property owners and said, we'd like you to participate in the grant program. Sometimes they're a no, and sometimes they stay a no. Some of them have remained a no. Some are a no at first, and then they say, yeah, I'll agree. So with those projects alone, we probably use up the money every year. So these additional ones, and that's why when I get a project in, not necessarily a bad project, but I recommend denial when it's not that. Once we get those kind of core buildings fixed up and done, we'll keep moving, we'll keep providing grants. But if the money keeps going for, you know, it's like we do a scatter shot. It's not the same effect as a concentrated area where we're sometimes we're literally saving buildings. And then when we have money in future years, this isn't a one-year project. This is the next decade. So we'll continue. We'll be able to do. We'll do a lot more sign grants and just awnings and other things just for extra improvements. Right now, we're trying to get some fundamental buildings looking presentable and attractive. So.
Well, my question is now, that's being said, are these two buildings before us on that agenda for what you got the grant for the buildings you're talking about?
We didn't get a grant.
No.
We got money, no.
You know what I'm saying? Was
Yeah.
these two buildings in the proposed area just like we're talking about, or is this just
Three Bananas is in the area, and I think it would, it's on Central essentially, and it would improve, sort of like Mystic Bistro and the others, they were not really on our radar as looking horrible and we need to do something.
But they look good now.
Now they look great, yeah, so we provided a match for them and assisted, it was a good investment. And Three Bananas is an anchor in the downtown, I think it's a middle, I think we'll all go, whoa, wow, that was a lot better. So I think it's a worthwhile project. I think in future years, the other project would be fine, if we've kind of taken care of the real visual blight, or buildings that maybe look a little worn, and then now we're just gonna try we're gonna do sidewalks and driveways and, single awnings, or little, sort of adding to our success. I could see that in future years.
So
I'd like to make a comment.
okay.
Gerald Watson,
Okay.
404 North Lake Street, supplement what Angel's saying. Just to put things in perspective, I still in the back of my mind having an issue with understanding how the problems that came up before with regard to locations being switched. To me, my understanding of the partnership was to bring organizations together so you wouldn't have conflicts around events and timing and dates. And, the Christmas parade and festival goes back, Marianne's gone.
Well, I'm so sorry, Gerald, we're off of.
No, I understand that. I guess, and now we've moved forward, and, and I'm saying this as a resident of Crescent City. Her building across the street, you couldn't have more of a landmark in this city. There's one traffic light, when you hit that light, you see that building. I think there's any building in town you really want to pop, is that building. Notwithstanding improvements that could be done to enhance others down the street around the corner. You also have groups like, I'm not taking anything away from Three Bananas, anything that would help. But they got resources. You got a nonprofit group on the corner that's a landmark, historic landmark, that it's a shame that nothing personal.
Well, we haven't
Okay.
done anything. I mean, I just so
But it should
we
not-
haven't denied her of anything.
No, but I understand it, but here's my point. It wasn't on the list. I identified, it should have been one of the first.
That's a beautiful building.
Yeah, it's.
And so I think that, to be sure.
But I understand that you'd like to do the trim and get that all set.
Yeah.
We'll sit down.
We can talk about that.
Sit down with Charles.
On application.
and
Let, yeah,
Christine.
I think the best thing to find at this point right now is just, let's tell her who and where she needs to go to make the application.
Let's get, let's put the
You just sit down with Charles and Christina about it, they can help you with it. You have to have, you're gonna have to get the different quotes for the painting, but by all
This has got
means.
nothing to do with the partnership.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the part, this is.
Well, I brought the partnership up because I really wanted to come and make the comment before, but it seems like you guys have resolved it. But it's still, it's a real thorn in my side that I don't understand how you can have an organization, an institution like the Christmas parade that goes back to the Women's Club, who did it for years at a festival in the park, was turned over to the Lions Club to take it over, and they've been doing it successfully for years. And they did a Friday and a Saturday, and how another organization could come up and just essentially take one of their dates, Charles. Okay, that's unfair.
Okay.
And there's a lot of issues related to that. It's not fair.
Thank you, Gerald. Thank you.
Can I ask you, what about, those signs that you put on the buildings? I ride and I ride regularly. I don't see that on her building.
Because we haven't awarded her a grant.
She hasn't applied for a
And she got
grant.
no grant.
They only do that after the fact, after it's been.
Sure, and that building is beautiful.
And so it was certainly never targeted as a mess, or we need to fix that. And the door could use some paint, but other than that, it's a gorgeous building. It never occurred, like, wow, we'll do something.
I'd love to see life, I'd love to see life in and out of that building
We'd
all
love
the
it if
time.
it had a tenant in there,
That's-
it's
It's a
occupied,
huge,
yeah.
it's a huge.
Well, I think he's right, I
there.
think you just do a little trim work on there and
That's
make
all
that
they
thing
want,
pop.
a little trim work.
I don't think it takes much.
Okay, well, why, you can set up a time, you know how to get in touch with
Sign.
Angel,
My son,
with Charles and,
So I sit down with Charles
and Christina.
Christina.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Charles and
Okay.
Christina.
Just about know where to go, how to
Okay.
apply for the grant, so I can get into the motion.
Thank you, thank you very much, thank you.
Don't forget to sign part of it.
It's done. I say these projects were funded by the CR.
No,
Yeah,
no,
we're not
the
doing
sign
it.
on her building.
It just need to be clean.
Okay, does she have a sign on her bill?
About 6
Oh,
feet
oh,
tall.
the A. Philip Randolph.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
okay,
a bill.
okay, thank you.
All right, thank you
Okay, do
guys.
we have any other speakers? Anna, did you want to come forward? You're good? Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for sitting here. I warned you in the beginning.
Yes, you did. I have a question. What criteria was used for the first 40 or 44,000 that we did the building on Central? What criteria was used to award that?
The work that needed to be done, that was the cost of the work.
Well, yeah, but why did you decide to spend 44,000 on one person's building? What criteria was used for that?
It was the work that needed to be done. So
So-
the windows need to be repaired, the new awning, painting, fix the side.
So you took it on yourself to decide the work that needed to be done on that building?
That was my recommendation, and the CRA board approved it unanimously.
So it was by your recommendation that
Yes.
that building got done?
Yes. I approached the property owner and said, "We do this." And at first he said no. And I kept at him, said, we really need to do this, and then he agreed.
Because you agreed to pay for it. I agreed for it, someone paid for it. Okay, I just was curious why what criteria was used. You decided, okay.
No,
I recommended.
yeah, he recommended. Thank you, commission decided. Okay, with that, any other public comment at this time? Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna close public comment. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye of tabling this. Aye.
Was the motion to table both of them?
Yes.
I think it was.
So take my back.
And also, when we come back to have the financial information to see if there's a way to add additional funds.
Okay, okay, let's move on to the website RFP. Charles?
Yes, we, as you recall, I requested to issue an RFP. We did get 7 responses to do a purely marketing website. And what we found, and it's kind of the next item on the agenda, at the redevelopment conference, was that we are actually, as of 2019, severely restricted on what CRA can spend as far as marketing. We can market our own programs, our grant programs, our successes, our initiatives. We can do an event that promotes those, really a one-time event. But we can't fund recurring events and provide grants for other folks to do events. So that would include doing purely marketing, tourist-oriented website. So the reality is we needed to do a CRA site that would also could have a business, our entire commercial corridor is in one of the CRA, one of the 3. So the 3 CRAs could share the cost, so there could be a business list, event list and so forth, along with grant programs and initiatives and so forth, CRA meeting minutes, all those kind of CRA related things. So the option was to I looked at our current provider, TownWeb. As part of that contract, we get a free overhaul of the site. They'll refresh the site with a new design at no cost. And as part of that, they could build a page where essentially it would be our web address /visit or /CRA, where you can embed within that same kind of information. We can market it as a separate website when it would actually be embedded in our town website. There'll be a cost for that, not for the main site, remodeling the city. I'm still waiting, they're working with their designers on getting a cost for us. So my recommendation is we table, don't throw them out yet. We have the option of just throwing out all the RFP responses and going with our current provider. I recommend we table this until I get that cost. I'll bring it back to you so you can see the cost of sticking with Town West and going this route versus what would be a separate CRA website completely if we want to go that route.
Okay, so, Commission, I need a motion to table the RFP.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? I was in that room, and I know that this is a big disappointment for our fireworks, but in that room that was full of people, it was all counties, all cities, municipalities, anybody that had these CRAs, and when they said that they had no more fireworks, you could hear it just across the room go, oh no. So, you know, it was just a big blow to all communities, and so it was to us as well.
So was this a regulatory or suggestive?
It was, what happened is in 2019, the legislature was trying to get rid of CRAs completely. And this was part of that negotiated in the end when it came out and the dust settled. One thing they do, they're sunsetting all CRAs, I believe it's in 2039, something like that.
39.
Unless we vote, this is gonna come back to you, unless we vote specifically to renew. And they also put restrictions on the spending. They took out, the phrase used to be, only on these things, how do you remember how it was phrased?
Yes, it was specified activities
But
and
not limited
authorities,
to.
but not limited to.
So they struck, but
And
not
they
limited.
struck, but not limited to.
So it's limited to this little list they've got within the statute. Essentially, bricks and mortar. They want us doing building improvement, physical improvements, infrastructure improvements.
We can
And
do
we
it
can market what
non-events.
we're doing, but not just marketing for marketing's sake, even though it brings, we had that about years before and got the Attorney General to make a ruling that, yes, you can pay for marketing, it brings people into the redevelopment area and revives it, brings dollars. And then we lost that in 2019 with the change. But it was that or probably lose CRAs altogether, so it was a compromise.
They did say though that we could, there was a possibility of an inaugural event, just not.
We can do like a block party that is to show off all of our vacancies, have open houses in the vacant building, you know, but then we couldn't fund that ongoingly every month, that block party, we'd have to hand that off.
So, okay, we have a motion and a second to table this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So,
Mayor, I have a CRA question.
yes,
And a comment. So, apparently there were a couple of seminars that dealt with the legal issue of what we could spend the funds for. The second one I didn't get to go to. The first one, the attorney said that we could not use CRA funds to fund Main Street. But did you get different information about that?
No, I was in that first one and she didn't do that. And we don't actually provide any money to our future
Well,
minister.
I'm talking about the staff. Right, she made a comment about Main Street.
I never,
I didn't.
We have access to those slides, we can look for that.
yeah, we can look
Right.
at that, but I
So
never,
there-
because I would have popped up, I mean,
Yeah.
I know that would have caught my attention.
Well,
And I didn't hear that. I sat through 3 different ones, and they were talking about how the funding and the effect of the funding, and I don't recall ever hearing that, but you can reach out to staff too, you can reach out to them and find out.
But along those lines, given that we have the funding pot of the CRA and then we have our general budget, and neither of them has a lot of money, and now we have restrictions, more restrictions on what we can use our CRA for. In the 4 years I've been a commissioner, we've never sat down and reviewed our CRA plan, which is about 43 pages. We've not set any short-term and long-term goals. We've not set those goals or established any implementation plan as to how to get there. And I think that it would be a good idea at our next meeting or to schedule a workshop before to go over our CRA plan, to look at what we have in mind and see what we can realistically do. And the one, I think, important thing to note is The real purpose of the CRA is to do meaningful projects that will eliminate slum and blight and provide affordable housing. Our CRA plan, I'm not sure what of those issues it addresses, but for sure, our activities that we've engaged in are more for publicity or for generally bringing people downtown. We have not addressed doing actual projects to bring in the developer, to bring in grants, to bring in additional funding. And I think, especially now that we have the additional restrictions on the funds, that we need to have a real CRA discussion instead of just considering individual projects. So my hope is that at the next meeting, or we will do this, because the universe has changed, and we need to figure out what do we want to do, how are we going to get there, and which pots of money can we use.
So I'm going to say that at the next meeting, I will not be in attendance, so I wouldn't want to do that. I think this is a lot to take on and have a meeting also at the same time.
Yes.
So I would also, I've spoken to Charles about this, and this was something that in hoping to be as transparent as we can possibly be, that we also do some sort of a state of the city type meeting. It's just kind of an overview of this is where we are right now. This is where everything is in the city. We can talk about the budget, the projects, where we are with everything that we have going on, and this will just be more informational than anything. And I would like to do that in January. As far as the CRA, that's going to be a very lengthy discussion, and so I don't know if we want to do it in December or if we want to hold off and do it in January.
What I have to ask for is, if you could provide me with examples of what that looks like for you. Because I think I've provided probably 4 times our implementation strategy, and the budget and the whole thing over and over again. So apparently it doesn't look like that to you. So if you could provide me what that needs to look like for you to satisfy that we have that, I'll be happy to accommodate that.
But one thing I would just like to share with the whole commission, we have a 43-page plan. We don't really have any articulated goals that we would like to achieve as a commission. So that would be a starter, but I'll be happy to put something down and give that to you.
That'll be good.
And now we don't have a clear view of where money can come from to do what. And I think that is very important, especially now that we have a new commissioner.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Burton.
I think we've been pretty clear on how and why we're doing and spending our CAR money where we are. I think Central Avenue, if you go down it now and you see that, once we paint your building and once a few of the other buildings pop with paint and he's putting in the flowers, I mean, everything that's been done, Charles has brought to the commission and has asked for us to help support those decisions and given us a vision of where he is trying to bring the city and what the city should hopefully start to become. Some of the older buildings on Central Avenue, we've spent a little time down there because they are historic buildings. And we are trying to save some of those buildings and keep those buildings intact. I don't think we're doing this willy-nilly. I really don't. And Commissioner DeVito is making it sound like we're doing it willy-nilly. We're not. I think the vision's been very well put in front of us as a commission as to where and how we are going with our CRA money. So I thank you for that. Anyway, that's...
If I could just respond very briefly.
Yes, very briefly. Go ahead.
The city has had the same CRA plan for years. We are not gaining businesses. The buildings are not being preserved for the long term. And if you look at CRA implementation plans of other cities, they have goals and objectives, and they have a vision that the CRA board decide.
Okay, and you're gonna provide that for him, what you're looking for that would satisfy you, so you'll
Well,
help him with that, okay. And we do have new businesses. Loren, she has, the Mystic Bistro has opened back up, so we've got that open back up. She has the store that she has there too, so we are starting to get new businesses.
But her restaurant is also not full many hours, so I'm not confident that we have achieved momentum toward an upswing. And as well, oh, one more thing I wanted to bring up. I think I mentioned this before. It's not a CRA issue or related to CRA. I have information from the League of Cities that apparently we may be able to use our ARPA funds for economic development. And I think given that we are pretty much spending through our CRA money earlier in the year, I hope we will consider that.
You obviously have a contact there that you've spoken to. Is that
Yeah.
something that you can help Charles with as far as gathering that information and put him in touch with the right person?
Yep, I have a little more time now, and I can do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Charles, let's finish up with the FRA conference report, please.
Well, that was mostly, and three of you were there, it was kind of the comments I just made. We discovered those restrictions. It was passed in 2019 and then COVID hit, so no one was doing events, so it didn't really come up. And then now that everything's opening back up, the issue came up that many communities were in violation of that.
With that, any other comments on CRA before I close CRA out? With that, I'm going to go ahead and close CRA out, and I'm going to open back our general meeting. So we've got the city manager's report. If all of you have had a chance to read through this, Charles, is there anything on here that you want to highlight? Commissioners, do you have anything you want to have questions?
I do want to add that I have appointed Karen as our city clerk.
Hey.
She's changing the salary now, effective immediately.
Good.
Good job.
Remind me of your
Karen's working really hard towards her.
We're going to expedite her certification process as well.
She's working really hard on that, so thank you, Karen.
Good job.
Does she go to state school or something to learn a certification?
The association clerks, they provide it 2 times a year. And then there's some online courses as well, which we can speed it up. It normally takes about 4 years.
Congratulations.
I want you to do one thing under your new title. Send the commissioners out a calendar of the events, the meetings that we got to have during the month,
He wants it for his refrigerator.
so I won't be absent.
I did that the last
I
time.
like that idea.
Commissioner Banks, I did that for you last time, and you left it in your jacket, and you left your jacket here.
All right.
Okay, do you want to talk about, is there anything you want to highlight on this? Okay, we've got a lot. I mean, there's a lot on the city manager's report, so, thank you for that, Charles.
I have a couple of questions
Okay.
about it. Okay. First of all, I don't see anything in here. I might have missed it. What if any is the progress on the stormwater issue on Lake Street at Mr. Tatum's house? I think that's 700 block. Did we send that back for more work, right?
We did, and Jason, our engineer, is looking at the possibility of having a pipe that's buried. The challenge is the diameter of the pipe. We may not be able to get it deep enough, so he's looking into the math of that, and we'll get back to us.
Is that possible? I mean, there was disagreement between the original proposal. Mr. Tatum was fine with it, but the neighbors across the street didn't like it. Is there any possibility of having a neighborhood meeting for the affected residents?
I guess that's a possibility. I did chat with each of them individually, and his objection was the concrete line ditch. The others were in favor of the project.
Right,
The other
and,
two.
I mean, that took up a lot of time in the commission meeting. Also, we got a letter from Mr. Pete Ackerman, who, he's not here, he was here earlier, about environmental consequences to the lake of one of the proposals. I assume that's been forwarded to the engineer?
Yes.
It has.
Okay, that's good. And then also, you're mentioning here that our audit for the prior fiscal year that was due to the state June 30th of this year, it was my understanding we were supposed to be considering it at this meeting, but the conclusion date is pushed back to November 30th.
Yes, the audit is not finished. We're waiting for one letter from one attorney's firm stipulating the work they did for us in that fiscal year. They've been unresponsive. I have Florida League of Cities trying to get them to respond, and then it'll be completed. Everything will be turned in that they requested.
Okay, because my request to you was that we ask the auditors to appear at this meeting by Zoom to explain this to us. I mean, this is.
Well, it's not them, it's us. We haven't been able, it's us finding the information they've been requesting. It's the state of affairs of the finance department is not such that happened easily.
Okay, and is this the second year these auditors have been our auditors?
They've been our auditors since 2018, I believe.
Well, we
I'm not
switched.
sure how many.
More,
We
I
switched
saw that, I think it was in 28, I believe it was in June of 2018 that they, June or July, that they developed the audit committee to choose it.
Right.
So Moore and Associates have been with us since at least then, yeah.
I knew we switched at some point, but these are not new auditors.
They're not new auditors, no, they're not new auditors, and they've just, been very patient, and I know that Jody and everybody have worked really hard for them. And that's another thing too, is that by state statute, we do an audit annually. So we are audited annually, so I think there was a question that came up that we don't ever do an audit, or that we haven't done an audit, but we are audited annually.
Oh, no, we do audit every year.
No, I know, but I'm saying that there was, again, a rumor got back to me that we don't do audits. I'm like, well, state statute, and we still will be within their timeframe, their required timeframe, the state. So,
Is there a state deadline for the audit?
I think it's December 30th.
yeah. Okay. Anything else on his, if there's nothing else, then we'll go to the city attorney. Bobby, do you have anything to report?
Our firm is not the one we're waiting on a letter from. That's all I have.
Okay, that's all that Bobby has. Okay, and with that, I'm gonna go to city commissioners. Do we have anything that you'd like to discuss or brought up before I close this meeting out?
Yes, I do. Just, I think we need to be cognizant that we will need to be discussing very soon what the school board, or be in touch with the school board about the Miller Middle School site, because the bond issue passed. And there's two alternatives. If they decide to build there, which they said they want to do, there will be significant impacts to that neighborhood. And I don't even know how they would do it. And if they move, how could we afford to keep up the gym and the auditorium? And, there are a lot of possibilities for that site. But I think there's opportunities for that site. But I think that if we are not involved, and we don't have some idea of what we want to see out of that, that we are going to lose those opportunities. So to me, I understand you won't be here December 8th, but I think we need to put a discussion of this on the agenda as soon as possible. And then I just have a couple updates. I was reappointed for the League of Cities to the Policy Committee on Transportation and Intergovernmental Relations that also deals with housing, and also to the Advocacy Committee. And I continue to represent the League of Cities on the State Council on Homelessness. And as well, the annual federal HUD-required homeless count nationwide will be done again this January. And there are nonprofits that are trying to organize the South Putnam count, because if you don't have numbers in the system, then they don't think that you need services. So there will be information forthcoming about where the trainings will be and how people can participate and how public entities like Crescent City can assist. And if anyone wants to know more, you can ask me, and I'll put you in touch.
With
Thank
the
you.
homeless, we do have a little bit of an issue right now, so do you have somebody, a contact that you're working with, as far as how to help out with?
Homeless people?
Yeah.
Well, the problem for South Putnam is, the major groups do not have money.
Okay, so are you working on anything with the county as well, as far as what we can do here in Putnam County for that?
Well, that's a kind of a sad story, and it's an issue that needs some advocacy.
Okay.
Because right now, the actual county, except for the sheriff's office, is not involved in addressing that entire issue, and the nonprofits are struggling greatly and do not have resources. So that's a big problem. But if there are problems, I would like to know about it because I will pass it along.
Thank you. Charles, I would like to make a recommendation. I think this is something that, Charles does an outstanding job. Usually when we get done with these meetings, regardless of the time, a lot of people don't know the hours that this man, he never stops. He never stops. I ask him a lot of times, please just go home, so I'll feel guilty when I go home. But he just never stops. But he does go in on his computer and he provides a synopsis for his staff of everything that we've accomplished in these meetings. And so I've talked to Charles about possibly putting that in layman terms, very simple layman terms, and start including that in with our monthly billing. I think that would help with a lot of our citizens that are not on website, that can go to the website and look at it. I think it will help them, and hopefully it will put to rest a lot of these rumors that continuously get spread around town, and that at least they would have the facts, and you can also put on there, you know, how we voted and how the vote counts came out. I think that would be very beneficial, and it's just a one-pager. If you could do that, I don't know, Commission, how do you feel about that? And I think in the spirit of being as transparent as we possibly can, that we know will reach every house here in Crescent City. And I apologize that, you know, that I hadn't recommended that earlier. You know, we're all still trying to weed through a lot of things, but, you know, I think that will help out a lot, and it will take care of a lot of the rumor mill and misinformation that's out there.
Information is always good.
So.
Yeah, because, you know, a lot of people can't make it to commissioner meetings.
Yes, and especially some of our community, you know, they don't go on the website, so they don't go in and they don't, and reading through those minutes, we have to read through those minutes because, and they can be reliving those hours all over again. But this way, at least, it would be just a quick synopsis of this is what the city is doing, so.
Are you asking for a motion?
Nope. No, I've asked Charles if he would do that. I don't think it needs a motion. Y'all can, and not only that, it's not on the agenda, so. Okay, so Commissioner Banks?
I got one thing for you,
Yeah.
What about December the 7th?
Well, I was gonna say, if you wanted to, that's up to you. If we could move it to December the 7th, that's fine. Whatever the commission, I don't want to inconvenience anybody, but,
What y'all think about that?
but, no, it's a Wednesday, it's a Wednesday night, so.
Well, let's make a motion. To get the mayor here.
It is a Wednesday night. I don't know if that impacts you at all with church.
What's on TV that night?
It's on my Chicago Fire.
Yeah.
No, I'm real serious about that. What about the attorney? You don't need
Available, so. Yeah, 7's fine. 6 is probably, no, it'd be, yeah, 7's.
7 would be good? 7, okay.
I mean, I'm not asking you to do that.
No,
I'll ask for a you know.
I
was trying to get out of
Yes,
it.
I don't have a problem with
So, somebody's gonna have to make a
it.
motion.
It is the day which we're living into.
Right.
Moving December 8th meeting to December 7th?
Yes. I make a motion that we move the December meeting to December the 7th from December the 8th. Same starting time, yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Just for you.
I really am not asking this, but I have to.
Just for you there.
He's for 39 years, and believe me, I've earned just as much as he's getting, because for 35 years of marriage, but for 39 years he's been with them, and this is a huge, big
Wow, that's
event.
nice.
It is.
He got the George Jenkins award. So,
All those in favor?
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, darn.
No rest for the weary.
With that, if there's
Oh,
not,
that's
if
funny.
there's not anything else, I'll go ahead. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion to
I'll second.
Second. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much for being here. Great meeting. Good first meeting.
I made it
Go by
through.
Doc.
I'm glad to have
Nobody stole
a bill on the commission.
We all been good to you.
Yeah, y'all really did.
Yeah. I would
Yeah,
be
no,
lost, I would be
yeah.
lost without, I'll tell you that. I would be so lost without balance so much.
Yeah.